Okay, so today I'll try another iPhone mobile stream, of which I've been doing a lot lately, mainly just trying to test it. So yesterday I tried another one on the mobile data, and that was like while driving, but the one thing I did that was different that maybe made it work better, because it only crashed once, I guess, towards the end anyway. But what worked with that would be you turn on your mobile data, but then you also have like a mobile hotspot as a backup from my other phone. So that was like, if it was gonna disconnect, maybe it switched to that. So that made it work better. I didn't even realize it crashed until the end. And it was only like with a minute left of when I was gonna end anyway, but maybe that'll sort of solve it. But yeah, one thing also I don't get is when you're watching this, like I'm watching my own stream on my other phone, like yes, it's in the portrait mode, and that's kind of like obviously looks a little stupid because there's black bars. But the one thing I don't get is there's black bars at the top and the bottom too. So that part doesn't seem right. Black bars, top and bottom. Because I know the other part is okay, the landscape versus black bars on iPhone stream are caused by mismatch and aspect ratio. Or is it because I'm doing that? Because I have it in landscape mode by default. So then if you do a landscape mode app, then it should be fine. Like what was one that I would always use to test out, like the GarageBand. Okay, so now there shouldn't be any black bars at all. Or even if there are, they'll be super minor, I guess is the point. But it's mainly the ones at the top and the bottom that bother me. It's not so much the that's so weird, yeah. So in both orientations, like why is there a black bar now at the top and the bottom there? Like let me think, what was the game that was like in that same like okay, this. There shouldn't be any black bars at the top or the bottom. That is so weird. If I go full screen, well, that doesn't really represent it very well, but that is very odd. And then I also turned the audio down because it seemed like too loud, maybe from well, it depends, I guess, what I'm doing on here. It seems too quiet as I'm listening to it, but it seems too loud actually on the video itself when I was watching it back. Zoom display mode 4:3 would be the resolution, maybe that doesn't. How to remove black bars at the top and bottom of videos and cameras. Did you cause my aspect ratio? Rid of black bars and streaming to an iPhone. Custom resolution on your PC. Because of the iPhone's weird aspect ratios. But I'm sure other people do it and like it's not a problem. How to stream on iPhone without black bars. Your video apps fit to screen or full screen. Let's just troubleshoot this for a minute, but then in the theme of Halloween, I will do like a tier list. I did one of those just in general, when I first come back in like 2021, of just like a tier list of movies in general, or like I did a couple different tier lists. So we can do a tier list of horror movies, and I'll do like a blind rank or something. Those kind of web browser type lists or games or stuff are fun to do, like Wordle or something. Do like a little mini game. This is the kind of thing that doesn't suffer from being on phone, right? It's just sort of, well, I guess it did suffer when I was doing it on lower quality because now I'm kind of using the Ethernet, so it shouldn't be an issue. But I was doing it on mobile data, and I did it in like 360p, and you could barely read what I was doing. I was doing the blind rank, so I guess you're taking it blind literally because you really couldn't see or read what I was doing. But normally it shouldn't be a problem. This is from a long time ago too. Stop shooting video in portrait mode, turn your video in landscape mode, but for some reason that also doesn't work either. Vertically when I watch on TV, the black bars on the side. Enlarge it and crop. I mean, I don't really care, but it feels like some of these games, I swear some of them actually were working without that happening. Or maybe I just didn't notice it. Like, let's test this. So you have Hearthstone, and that is so weird. It might be something with this app, in fact, because maybe I'm used to using the other one. Like, it's showing even the black bars on that. Right. Landscape, but what about the black bars? Like, there should be a way to stretch it. At least this makes it feel deliberate. Like, okay, they are actually trying to adjust orientation. I mean, obviously the landscape mode is much better. I don't know what that button is doing. Um, but like, okay, what if I want to stretch? Now, how do I undo this? Because I don't want it to actually be like that. Oh, it actually fucked it up. But no, what I wanted to do was I wanted to. Oh, now it'll never be exactly right again. But no, what I wanted to do was try to get it in such a way that you get rid of like the black bars and all, but there should be like a default thing. Like the yellow means it's right there, but then how do I know exactly what the middle is here? Whatever, that should be fine. So yeah, let's just do some of these, I guess. Let's do the blind rank one to start. So there hopefully should be one, like should I maybe some of those videos are pretty fun. I was talking about that I think yesterday. Like I should react to blind ring scary moments caught on ring doorbell camera. But I don't know if that's I don't like to steal other people's stuff, but I guess I would show it like I could do it on here. Like there's nothing stopping me from, you can react to stuff on here as well as anything else. Right? So I should almost look up like videos you can react to on stream. Not so much that they're oh like that's it's good to react to. It's more like are you allowed to react to without getting in trouble or feeling like you're stealing somebody's content. And a lot of the time, people just don't care about that. Either the people whose content it is don't care, or the people reacting are such big streamers that nobody cares. But and I'm just using Safari by default. It's not like I really normally I'd use Chrome, but actually Chrome has had some annoying things over the years. Like for some reason, like lately, I've been using like a different location sometimes, and it constantly every single time I clear my history or I go to Google something, it'll be like See, I have like four bars there, but it's not actually bars because I'm not connected to anything. I'm not connected to the mobile data or Wi-Fi. I'm connected to only the Ethernet. So I guess it counts out as bars. But no, this, yeah, like on Chrome, every time I clear my history or I look up anything on Google, it'll make me do a verification that like, oh, it's detected unusual activity or you're not a bot. Whereas on any other browser in the same place, like Mozilla and stuff, it doesn't do that. So you should be able to just search internet stuff. Or there's all these like Roblox games kind of like this too. In fact, there's a whole slew of these brain rot streams that actually get a lot of views and followers, and I don't understand why. Like there's these couple stupid ones. I should do like a little spotlight highlight if I could even remember the name. That I'm just scrolling through YouTube and I see this and I'm kind of shocked. This is actually like a form of content. Like this is the modern state of content. It's literally some girl streamer pretending to be asleep and she says, donate, give a super chat for me to wake up. And it's like, and that's it. That's the whole thing. And she's done that like 100 times. If you look at her history, like you might think, oh, why do I even know this? But it's like that's how shocked I am that there's that. Then there's like, it's like they're not actually doing anything. They're just sitting there with Roblox open and just they have like this parade kind of going on in the background. Whatever. But see, we want to do movies, but we want to do horror movies. The Pianist is good. Maybe three is okay. Dark Knight is very good. Lord of the Rings. People would probably simp and put it at one, but if you're just talking about the first one, let me see. Blind rank horror movies here. And these are just people posting videos on themselves doing. There's got to be another site that just does this blind ranking stuff. But no, that's almost something we should look up is like games, and I don't really even mean like a full-on game. Like something that's meant to be like what I'm doing here, or like Wordle, or like yeah, Wordle, or like the other. Can you even do Town of Salem in a browser? Um, the whatever, the tier list and stuff. Dragon Fable, the Adventure Quest stuff. Blind rank. That site is okay, but yeah, let's blind rank the top five blind rank sites. Oh, would there be an actual app for it? Yeah, let's do BlueStacks on an iPhone. Like, what fucking sense does that make? Okay, so let's look for one on here. Actually, I wasn't thinking of that. That there must be. I think there was one that I actually saw that was the filter stuff that it would do for you, but I don't want to actually use the filter. I just want to use you know, like, should I do it? Like, if I want to use it without doing the camera and the video. And your favorite hugs, best food, Ringmaster, personalized shareable video. It's just so dumb. Like, I want to do it without that. Create a topic. Start from trending challenges, create your own, rank, save, and share. Let me try it. It's probably going to dock something, or you should ask permission, though, before doing that. But this is always the goofiest thing. Like, you enter a password, and it's supposed to blur it out, but in some cases, it actually doesn't. Right, on certain apps and stuff, or certain sites. And that's like a new pop-up that you get with like every single app that you, or I guess it wouldn't be new, like I've never used an iPhone, but what is this?
The pharmaceutical.
I mean, I guess a lot of these will be run by ads, but now who is subscribing to a fucking yearly plan or a weekly plan to literally, this is not an ad for something else, right? This is literally for what I'm doing. Ranking filter. Find out which cartoon character you and your lover look like. Okay, what is happening? Like, okay, what if I, it's like forcing me to do that one. What if I don't want to do it? Bro, like we get that there's gonna be ads, I'm fine with it, but like do you have to actually do this or what? Let me just try it. Okay, here we go. So the main ones I guess I've seen are these NBA related ones for whatever reason, like I don't know, blind rank, or there's something similar to. I guess that might still be considered a blind rank, but like we have to match this player's number of rings, right? Like, oh, we got Bill Russell and Jordan, and that's 17 rings, so now we have to match that with like five players, see if we can get as many rings. So all I want to do basically is search a topic and then see if I can. Maybe I'll just skip this one because this is stupid. Like, how do they work? Or you could almost watch somebody else's and just play along, I guess. But yeah, I don't do the fucking camera shit. And yeah, you'll see the Starlink here, and you might wonder what is this because I was trying to set that up, but then I need some other special wire for it. So like the Starlink Mini to try to get this to work when I'm driving. But let me just do the tier list, then that's too bad. Or we could try to turn the tier list into a blind rank of some kind because this is always a good form of content, though. I always used to like these. The one that I really went in great depth about was always the Phoenix Wright stuff, like Ace Attorney. I would like, and I still have some of those videos posted, but I have a ton of them that I still never got around to editing. And that was just from this channel too. Like, go through best Ace Attorney characters or best Ace Attorney cases, and I would go in like great detail and depth and analysis, right, and go on these super long spiels about it. So, famous horror movies, not every horror movie. Yeah, like not every horror movie in existence. Yeah, let's try to maybe do it blind in a way too, like where we don't look at them all at once, or well, I don't care. Let's just do it. So let's try to come up with this is one thing I would do with those, like make some relevant terms for each thing, right? And something more interesting than just this. Unwatchable trash, like horrifying, and then there's like a theme to horror movies that I would talk about. So like jump scare, bait, trash, and then this one is like scares without substance, where I always say that. Like even some of the good revered horror movies like Halloween and stuff, they have some good elements to them, but there's nothing more to it than just, oh, the killer trying to get you. Right, so now there's almost too many tiers in this one. Should be like five would be enough. Another would be like some depth and then a lot of depth. Gimmick, like good, but a gimmick. like gimmicky ghoul. I don't fucking know. I'm trying to alliterate. Gimmicky graveyard, like just something that is good, but it doesn't, whatever. I won't even use the very top tier. There's just too many. So we'll do this one as like something that has more depth. Or yeah, that was the joke I was making. Is like we could maybe fit that in here, like one that's skin deep or something, right? Like oh, the killer cuts with a knife and it's only skin deep, but in the sense of this, like it doesn't go any further with its material than just the surface of what you expect. So let's think of a term like that where, something that's like knife to the heart almost, or something that shows you how deep it goes, right? Like heart piercing that it has depth and story and whatever. These weren't really the most inspired titles, I guess. So one of these should be, it wouldn't really fit here because it's too high, but it's meant to be like skin deep slasher. But yeah, this should be a reverse or something. Or maybe not, I don't know. Like it does everything good on the, kind of the same as scares of substance almost, but it's like it does everything good on the surface, but it doesn't do anything deeper for you, right? So many of these I maybe haven't even seen or I don't remember super well. So I maybe will skip them. I'm not too big on oh, you know what, we almost need a fodder category to, wait, it's not even working right. Oh, now it is, okay. The Army of Darkness, let me just see what we have to work with here. The Evil Dead, like I'll just put a lot of these here if I'm not super, if I don't have something super interesting to say about them. Not even that I haven't seen them or whatever, but like Friday the 13th is okay, but it wasn't like anything mind blowing. There's actually some really funny reviews by Siskel and Ebert of these that are like, and one that somebody cut together in a really funny way, where he's like, he keeps making him say the same thing over and over, like this kid who had got kid in a wheelchair whose head got hacked open by a machete, and he keeps making him say it over and over. And they kind of cut together things that make it sound like really believable, but it's actually just from other reviews and stuff. It's like an outdoor adventure picture, but whatever. They hated those movies. Um, Again, the one thing I don't do with them is I don't moralize them in the sense that, oh, like it's somehow reprehensible or, sometimes there'll be that, like a moral high ground. I don't have any issue with that. Like it's just, it's meant to be what it is. Like even if it's gross, right? These are things I don't really, like my reputation for being objective, both in my debate format, I guess, and in reviews. It's like, oh, it's gross, but it's meant to be gross, right? They say that about The Thing, right? I think Cisco and Ebert, but maybe other critics like, oh, it's gross, but it's meant to be gross. You don't think that creature that's trying to kill everybody, that's this amalgamation of all these different things over time that's absorbed, you don't think it's supposed to be gross? Like that's the point, and the effects are very good. So I'm not going to judge it like that to say, oh, it looks ugly, therefore it's bad. No, the intent is that it's supposed to be ugly, and in fact, the fact that you find it so ugly is actually effective and to its credit. So, um, I mean, some of these are really stupid too. Like there'll be, Jason Part 10 where Yeah, I don't want to go through each of these sequels, and you might always wonder that in a general sense. Why do these horror movies get so many sequels? It's because they're often very cheap to make, right, compared to other things. So they're cheap to make, and they can be very formula in the sense that they're, again, they don't require any deeper narrative. It's like, oh, it's just skin deep. The deepest you're going to go is just how either some horny teenagers going deep into each other there, or again, the knife of the killer going deep into somebody. But that's the whole framing, is that there doesn't need to be any depth to it, or there's no expectation of it. Jason, what even is this? But no, it's like Jason X, like, oh, they go into space and they're kind of running out of ideas. And honestly, a lot of these I'm not even gonna have much to say about. So how do I scroll up though? This is kind of trash to do. I was even saying this doesn't have to suffer too much for being on mobile, but this is really hard to do. So again, the original Halloween though is the point of is again either I haven't seen some of these or I don't remember them or I don't really care about them enough to really be an expert on this. But Halloween is interesting because again, this is a perfect example of this category. I guess is that it's good on an effective level of again, it's effective. You could say, okay, it's scary, although I'm not the type to get scared anyway. But again, the build up by Donald Pleasance of how he talks about Michael Myers is good, right? Some of that dialogue is dramatic. Some of the build up of Michael standing around and kind of stalking and doing all that is good. Um, so again, it's effective, but it's not. I guess I would love to hear even from a fan of the movie, right? Because it's such a revered, not even a cult classic. It's just a very, considered a classic. Period. It's good in those ways, like the basic presentation, right? Especially given the budget and everything like that, and the music was made by John Carpenter too and stuff. But does it have any other depth or meaning or theme to it? And you might think, oh, that's unfair to expect that. But I mean, every movie, every story, in some way, right, is expected to do that. So how can it be so great without that, right? That's what would make it truly heart piercing. Not even so much heart piercing like scary, heart piercing like profound or meaningful, right? We want to see signs on this list. Or again, The Exorcist, where at least they try to have some other depth going on to them. What is the depth of Halloween, right? It starts off, again, it's interesting and dramatic how they introduce and present the villain, right? The way that Donald Pleasance's character talks about him, Dr. Loomis, right? His dialogue is good to build up the killer, but again, that's still related to the killer. Then all the other characters are just, you know, school, typical generic characters, horny teenagers partying. Like, what is the other deeper meaning? And you might think, why should we expect that? But there's no like huge character arc or development. Again, Signs maybe is one of the one of the good examples. That again, you have the character losing his faith, gaining it back, all of this. So yeah, this kind of shows you even by simply doing a tier list. That's all I'm trying to do is like, oh, we're trying to get in the Halloween spirit, and an ex-film critic takes a trip down memory lane and tries to do a tier list. But even by doing this, simply by looking at the options that we have here, the whole horror genre is catching strays that, oh, they don't have any depth, they don't have any deeper meaning, there's no point to them, they're just mindless slashers, escapism, lowest common denominator. But even by looking at what's on here, like, oh yeah, they're just endless sequels, cheap, low budget trash, right? This is what I mean. Like, I don't even care about doing most of these. Just by looking at the options, like, it's all just trash. Um, just fodder, low budget, endless sequels. The Nightmare on Elm Street, I maybe don't remember super, super well, but it's pretty much in the same category as that. I forget exactly how it works with the dreams and everything. One thing I'll say is Freddy Krueger kind of freaked me out when I was a kid. Just like I remember being at some restaurant actually. I can't remember exactly where or how how old I was, but I was at some restaurant and we were, just whatever at a table by the window eating, and like across the street there was this statue of Freddy Krueger outside of some place, I don't know, some other building. And I just kept looking at that, and that actually did kind of freak me out the way he looked there. So just the imagery of that one, and what else freaked me out as a kid? The Grinch, the trailer for The Grinch with Jim Carrey. For some reason, one of those trailers was presented in a bit of a scary way. Again, this is when I was much younger, but still. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Give me some that I actually care about, or like I'll do one for each series. Um, Wes Craven. Wait, this can't be all of them. What is shit list? Like, don't give us all these for the. Uh, yeah, so this is an expert tier list. Friday the 13th. I mean, those are like the three big series, but give us, one from each series, like Saw, or, give us Hellraiser, even though that's not maybe all that well known. The original, give us, The Thing, give us They Live, even though I don't consider that super much like horror, but almost evolves into an action movie. Or I guess that's why it says not every horror movie, but I mean, it doesn't have to be famous just by that. Um, just by Internet Horror Series. Long list of movies of horror, but don't do sequels over and over. Oh, I don't want to do this again, though. So many of these I'm not going to even know what they are. Yeah, give us The Thing. It's interesting to think about, like, how much the genre can you be used as an excuse, right? Oh, it's just meant to be scary. Oh, so just give us some jump scares. Oh, it's meant to be, some effects and flashy stuff, but hundreds of horror movies. Hmm. I want one that's comprehensive, but not like, yeah, let's do horror games, which again, it's not a genre that I've done very much with at all. So over 500. I love these that say that I've seen. Like, who the fuck are you that anybody cares? Like, is this some famous person who's actually doing this? Trying to think like what's like one that's a guilty pleasure, or like one that I would like that other people wouldn't like. I guess Signs isn't so much like that, but it's more extreme. Like it's one that I consider one of the best movies ever that other people would consider just good or okay. Right. Ultimate horror movies list. Okay, 182. Okay, so let's just do it by the franchise. So like Saw is really not that good, right? It's the premise. Again, I'm counting this as just like the first movie. Um, it's not really that good because the gimmick of it, like, okay, let's play a game, want to play a game is fine, but um, these are either not seen or I don't care. So let's do this into like let's do that in that sort of top tier. The Fly is okay. Invisible Man, I honestly don't remember some of these well enough. Again, Saw, we're just gonna count the same thing. Cabin in the Woods is a perfect like good example of a C where it's kind of a gimmick. Right, the gimmick behind it is cool and interesting, but beyond that, it's not that special. It's basically actually the movie version, or I guess you could say Until Dawn is the game version of that, right? Where everything is sort of a plan or part of some bigger whatever. It's all like a simulation kind of, which I guess spoils it if you were whatever expecting that, but. Shaun of the Dead, I don't care. Or yeah, that's the worst. They clown on those two genres. So I say like horror uses its genre as an excuse just to give a couple cheap scares and have no deeper meaning. And the same is true of comedy movies. So the worst movie ever would be a comedy horror hybrid that uses both as an excuse. Um, yeah, some of these I'm not gonna worry about. Jennifer's Body, but I hate that idea of repetition. Like we're getting triggered by sequels by not even watching them, but just by, you know, this was just very influential, so I have to give it very high marks, but I still won't give it an S, although there's some nuance to it. It's just something more from, okay, let's do the scary movie franchise. It's actually pretty damn good. Right, for its purpose, I have to give it high marks. Although sometimes it does stuff too much on the nose. Child's Play is very good. This is a perfect example of like a B, where this is almost a guilty pleasure one. And again, we're just talking about the original with all of these, but it's a guilty pleasure because it's kind of predictable. You know exactly where it's going to go. It's like a premise picture, I call it, right? That some things, like a premise picture, is like where you go in, you can kind of imagine the board meeting where they kind of pitch it. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had this movie where this doll comes to life and terrorizes people and kills people? And then they'll use like one scene or one quote as an example. Oh, yeah, this would be so cool. And then you act like, oh, then you ask like, oh, so what else is there to the movie? That's just the premise, right? But oh, that's all there is, right? That's basically it. It was very predictable. The doll's trying to kill people. It goes through some cliches, and that's about it, right? There's nothing deeper to it, but it's still somewhat entertaining. So that's a tough one for me because, like, it's not really good or anything special, but you still have to say, okay, I didn't completely hate it. Twilight Zone the movie was actually kind of underwhelming. That sort of anthology thing is not doesn't work so well as a movie. I guess my memory with some of these isn't the greatest. I'll be honest with you. Same thing. So we're not gonna. Okay, this is one that actually deserves some. Okay, so here I'm trying yet another iPhone mobile stream, and so this one's a little bit unique because I was constantly struggling with the mobile data and the internet. So now what I have is I've set up in my car a Starlink Mini. I got a little stand for it, so it's sitting on the dashboard. And I signed up for the plan, so I'm on like the Roam $50 a month Roam plan, so you can do it like while driving or traveling or whatever. In remote locations, it seems to be pretty decent in terms of the speed, like 100 megabytes download, 20 megabytes upload. It might change and vary, but it can't be worse than my shitty mobile data. So I have it like on the dashboard on a stand, and I also had to get like a special wire for it to connect it to my Anchor power bank. And so one issue that's going to happen here, even if the internet is good with this, the issue is going to be now that my power bank is about to run out. And so that seems to take forever to charge. Like I left it plugged into my computer overnight and it only charged like maybe 30%. And now in testing all this, it's taken it's taken a lot of it. So there's like 17% left. It's saying like roughly 30 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes. Let me actually try to drive around and do this. And so it's like testing. This might be the final step though. I've tried so many different things to get this mobile streaming to work. But this seems to be pretty good at first glance. What's gonna happen though is it might fall off and fucking break. Right, that's my main thing. And again, something of course had to fuck up, which is the fact that so I'll just kind of drive around randomly, and mainly I'm testing both the stability of the physical setup that I have here, but also the setup of the what do you call it? I'm testing the stability of the actual device in my car to make sure it doesn't fall, but I'm also testing the stability of the internet as I'm driving, like if it'll change, if it'll fluctuate, if it'll fuck up. Right, but this seems like an awesome actual Elon Musk comes and saves the day. Right, this is actually
why do I have to use this rather than mobile data, rather than a mobile hotspot, rather than anything? Why is this my last alternative? It's like, what, if I'm driving in under a tunnel, if I'm driving through a tunnel, I'll get fucked over and it'll disconnect. Like I show speed and I have 50K viewers and I'm streaming in my car, IRL streaming, and I go through a tunnel and the stream crashes and I lose everybody and my life is over because, like, you know, is that what it would be like? Because it has to be kind of open to the sky. Imagine if this is what it takes. Like, this is what I had to do. I have to buy a Starlink Mini kit, $300 from Home Depot, which again, that's fine. Then I have to subscribe to the plan, $50 a month for the 50 gigs, which is fine. I can, roaming plan. And then I have to set it up in my car. I have to get the stand for it. I have to get the wire for it. I have to get a power bank. Like, look at what I have to do this. Like, mobile streaming is the most cancerous shit ever, and nobody should ever do it, and it fucking sucks. Like, you should not have to do all this. It's not even the money aspect. It's like, look at the number of things I've had to do. Get the Starlink, set it up in your car, get the stand, get the wire, get the power bank, you have the iPhone, you tried the mobile data. Like, just fuck mobile streaming, dude. So hopefully we'll kind of assess this. And the one thing I'm worried about too is the adhesive on that. It's like an adhesive stand, but like, how long is it going to last? Because I had the one like that for my phone and it would constantly fall. So I think over time that shit is going to fall, but whatever. This is it. Like, this is the ultimate final setup. If this doesn't work, I give up. Like, I honestly give up. So I'm just kind of driving. It's just comical. I don't do face cam or camera anything, but I almost wish in this moment that I could show it to you how goofy and stupid this whole thing was. Like, I give up, man. It's just the number of steps you had to do that is fucking mind-boggling. And again, as we're driving, it might change a little. You might go to remote locations, but it's kind of known for that too. Like, so I'm camping out in the wilderness, in the woods, somewhere random, and it's supposed to work there. It might not be that as fast there, but you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to work where everything else doesn't work, so that would be really cool. Roaming. I like how even in the roaming plan too, it says that. It says, like, to do it while driving. Like, it's like they know me too well. That is so... The problem with this is, if you were doing it for IRL streaming, you can't really walk around and use it because it has to be in the car, or like you'd have to be holding it, or like it has to be in a place, right, where it's facing the sky. But it's like, this works because I'm in my car and I'm driving, right? So it's in the car and it's, by the window, by the dashboard. So yeah, I mean, if I count the cost of that, just to understand, it was $300 for the Starlink mini kit. Then it's $50 for the plan for the month. Then it's, at least, you could get a better plan, like $165 for unlimited versus, $50 for the $50 for the 50 gigabyte plan, which for now I'll just do that to test it. It's like a 7-day free trial. But no, what I'm saying is, $300 for the Starlink mini kit, $50 for the plan, $100 for the Anchor power bank, another $50 for the stand and I think it was roughly $50 total, or maybe a little more, for both the stand and the wire, which you need like a special USB-C to barrel wire. So we're looking at $350, $450, $5. So roughly like $5 to $550 that you have to spend for that. Which again, it's supposed to last for a long time. Like, so does this mean now something I didn't even think about? So I could stream from my computer in my car, which seems kind of pointless because, again, if I'm just sitting stationary in my car, why would it matter, right? Why wouldn't I just go home and just do it there? But like, or let's say you're homeless and you do it, this will give rise to homeless streamers. You're in your car, right, and you're streaming on your computer in your car using something like this, and it's like I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of not trying to make fun of the whole thing, but it's so unbelievably stupid that, like, I don't know who mobile streams, what kind of a clown would do this. I'm a clown for doing it. Like, I don't know, man. So now what's going to happen is the stream will randomly crash because my power bank is going to run out of battery because it takes a century to actually charge it. Right, like it seems good, but then there's a limit to how long this will actually last, or I'll have to have multiple of them. Or even if I did, when I unplug one, it'll, I don't know. So that's maybe the limit of this, is that, let's say, I want to do a 24-hour stream while driving and I'm doing some crazy thing. How would I manage it with the power bank if, like, I'd need the power bank to be charging as I'm doing it? And I don't know how to do that effectively enough. Right, I even have my computer turned on in the seat next to me, and I'm trying to, and I forgot to change my title, so it's still going to be that stupid horror movie thing, which, that was a pretty good session I did yesterday, but then the problem with it was I ended it early, like, or no, I was still doing it, but then I didn't realize at some point my mic muted, so like the last hour of it, it's like a 2-hour video stream, like the last hour I was muted and I didn't even realize. But no, what I'm saying is that, how do I stream this without using it, or charge this while using it? Because like it's plugged into the, again, it's plugged into the Starlink, but I don't know if there's an Ethernet, but I don't have anything. I don't know how to do it. Right, like that's the next step. I guess if it was at 100%, it would probably last, based on this, maybe a couple hours. So that, for now, obviously that's very reasonable. I can't complain. But it's just, so far it seems good. Again, I won't be able to test it for really a long period of time. So I can't believe that Elon Musk saves the fucking day, because nobody else can do anything. AT&T sucks dick. Verizon sucks. You know, fucking T-Mobile hotspot sucks. They all suck. I try to do 100 different things. They're all unsure. I'm asking the guy, oh, it might not be fast enough. What kind of area are you in? Where are you going to be? It's like, dude, why is this such a challenge to do? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Like, I don't have any... I don't care too much about Elon one way or the other. I know a lot of people hate him, but this moment makes you like, dude, like, this is what I had to do. This is like the Donald Trump effect, maybe. It's like everybody else sucks, so you're left with no other choice but to go with them. So it doesn't even mean that you like them. So it's like I'm forced to use this because everything else is just not usable. That's the same reason why, this is why people vote for Trump, because it's not that you like him, but Democrats suck, everybody else sucks. So you feel like, okay, he's the only choice left, so we have to settle for it. So, again, I can stream on my computer like this, probably from my car, and it would be decent. The biggest thing that I have to question, though, is, again, the power thing. And I don't know how that works, because even if it was 100%, I don't really understand, because again, my ideal thing is, okay, I'm charging the power bank while using it, but I don't know how to do that in a, like your car has that little thing that I usually charge my phone from, but that doesn't really work for this, because it should work, but it wasn't. Like, I was trying it too. Like, here, I'll unplug my phone and I'll try to put it in there. And I don't think it really did anything. Or we already have the other thing charged in from my computer. So we're down to 11%. So now my obstacle is going to be the battery, not the internet necessarily, which is kind of interesting. That you have... right? Like what? Well, whatever. If I had that at 100%, I can't complain too much. But I don't. It's kind of confusing, see, because I have it plugged into my computer right now, the USB-C, but it's not working. So, or like it's not charging, or it's charging very slowly. So like the charging speed doesn't offset. But whatever. I'm probably not going to use it for that long. But it just makes me wonder now. So the power bank, like even if you had multiple, let's say I had 10 power, I'm a big streamer and I have 10 power banks ready, right? It still wouldn't solve the problem because you would have to end the stream and then restart it, because you would have to turn the thing off, right? Or maybe there's some way to do that, but no, this seems pretty steady, pretty solid. At least working better than my other shit ever did. Like, I'm waiting for it to crash. I guess you'd have to do it for a much longer period of time to really tell. But this is my main function of what I'm trying to do with it anyway, is while driving. And yeah, it makes me think, okay, so I could literally, if you're homeless and you sleep in your car and you could be a streamer and you're doing this, like, I'm just trying to think of the uses of it. Or again, if you just travel, you're camping, you're whatever you're doing, it's a handy thing. So I mistyped that. Testing Starlink Streamlink. No, I meant to write testing Starlink Streaming. Makes it sound like another product, Streamlink. But yeah, what was that whole drama with him faking his Diablo stuff? Like, he bought somebody's account and he didn't know what he was doing. Just the fact that you would feel the need to do that. Like, you're trying to show off that you're good at games. But we can understand if you're not. Like, you're a busy guy, you've got other things to do. So, like, why would you feel the need to buy somebody's account and then pretend, oh, fuck me. But yeah, so what I want to do here is something's going to happen with the battery that I can't wrap my head around. So, like, if I came in with 100% battery, it would have lasted, a couple hours maybe. I think at like 30% it was lasting like a half hour, so maybe like an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is fine. But again, I can't figure out how this power bank works. So, like, it has like the two ports and then the Ethernet port. So it seems like the port number 1 for the USB-C is the stronger one, because I just tried to put the Starlink in the port 2 and it wouldn't work. Like, it wasn't strong enough. So I put it in the port 1. But then, like, I don't know how it assesses something. Like, so I'm putting something in port 2, but then is it charging it, or is it trying to charge the other thing? Like, it's an out port. I don't know how that aspect works. Like, how does it know whether I'm trying to charge it or charge something else with it? Because, like, if I'm plugging it into my computer, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, if you were out in the wilderness for a long period of time, so how would you do that? Right? How would I charge this thing? It's like some endless loop, infinite loop of power that you'll come up with. Like, oh, I use my computer to charge the power bank, then I use the power bank to charge the computer. And, like, I have this infinite cycle, but it obviously isn't going to work. So it's very consumptive, clearly, this Starlink thing. So we're at 8%. I don't know really what to do. So that's unbelievable. So now we hopefully have solved the internet issue, but guess what issue we run into? Oh, we run into the issue now, the power of the actual power bank. So now I don't know what to do with that. God damn. So now I'll have to end off because of that. That's crazy. Alright, I'll just end now rather than have. Okay, so today I'm doing my episode 2 of the Starlink, streaming on Starlink while driving to kind of test it. It worked pretty well yesterday, but what was funny is, normally what would cause it to crash is, I'm using my mobile data and it just has constant issues.
with this, it was working fine, although I only went for like 20 minutes, so it's hard to really judge it. But it crashed because, or I had to end because my battery was going to run out. So I need like this external, what's it called, like a power bank. And so that was running low on battery. And so that'll kind of dictate when these end rather than, oh, it just crashes because my mobile data is kind of shitty. And so hopefully this will work well. And today actually has an interesting way to test it is the fact that it's raining and it's kind of cloudy. So you would think, oh, that might cause it to work, to have a little worse signal. So we'll kind of see if that affects it. I'm not sure that raining would really affect it, but the fact that it's cloudy, like, oh, it needs a clear path to the sky, right, to work, and that doesn't, you would think clouds would affect that, but so far it seems pretty good. It certainly should be better than the stupid mobile data that I always use because that's just always horrible. It's like one crash ruins the whole thing because then it really is distracting to have to worry about that. We just want to get into something here. So, and of course, the rain is going to affect the sound quality too. There's nothing I can really do about that. So yeah, we're going to discuss today. This is maybe one of the first actual debate format discussion episodes I'm going to do because I've been so distracted by the issues all the time that like I'll try to get into a topic and then it just crashes, so I skip it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to discuss, again, from the lens of absolutist philosophy, which I discussed a lot in my debate format. It's basically my, my creation in a way. Not saying similar ideas didn't exist, but like to put it all together. I have a couple of videos on my channel, I guess, that discuss it, but again, that was at a time, this is like 12 years ago now, 12 to 11 years ago, where I did my debate format and all that. So a lot of the ideas I discussed there, and I've kind of discussed offhandedly since then in various forms, but I kind of never really uploaded anything or did it in a formal way. I just kind of did it on a whim. And so, just as a reference point, if you want to understand better what I'm talking about, there isn't really a lot. I have the one channel, The Court of Reason, where I uploaded some of those things, but even that's like a recreation. But whatever, it's the same ideas. So the Court of Reason, I have some videos uploaded there. I made like a Twitter account for it, where I also posted some logical razors there from it. And then I also have a couple videos on my main channels, like taking like a political compass test from an absolutist point of view, right? Things like that. So let me briefly define it, and then I'll go into a particular topic. So basically, absolutist philosophy would be the idea that there are no absolutes, right? Some people get confused by that in the name, that you're thinking, oh, there are absolutes or everything's absolute or something. You try to do everything in the absolute sense, like a consistent way, right? You do it fully and consistently, but it's the idea that there are no absolutes, so the only basis of value and measure is a person's potential or action, right, rather than being controlled or held down by some hypothetical absolute. Like a good example is this. I had this expression that peasants working for the promises of heaven, so this would be like in the feudal times and so forth, right, where the church had a tremendous amount of power. So you'd be like, oh, there'd be the priests and the clergy up in a castle, in the church in a castle, eating very fine meals and wine and all this kind of thing, while the average person is a peasant working in the fields, but they are kept in line by promises of heaven, like, oh, but if you behave good, then God's not going to punish you and he's going to send you to heaven and this and that. So you're a peasant working for the promise of heaven. So so a false absolute is being used to control you in this lifetime that you're sure of and exists instead of some hypothetical, right? It's being used to control you. Whereas if you take that away, now you wouldn't be so tolerant. You would expect something more in this life because well, that's all there is. So what am I holding back for? Right? So that would be used as a tool of control. So an absolute, any absolute like God or again, some spirituality, or even some of these terms like love, or even morality, different things that are posed as though they're somehow above, this state of aboveness or absoluteness. They're used as nothing more than a tool to control you, right? Because otherwise you would think, well, if there's no afterlife, then you're going to hold this life accountable. You're not going to wait. You're not going to hold back. You're not going to, be controlled by promises of heaven or some other dogma. Or if there's no, again, it's a way to appeal to the ego too, like love. Oh, it can't be that society just wants you to be with one person because that's easier to control, even if it goes against, natural instinct and different things that people want to do. Oh no, it's the fact that it's easier for society to control and manage and organize, and it's good for the family system, which is at least a functional argument. Right? No, it's not that. Oh, it's just love and it's meant to be and it's your soulmate. Right? That's a way to appeal to the ego and say, we're going to bypass your cognitive dissonance that we can't just tell you as society that, oh no, we just want to control you. We just want to control your animalistic urges and tendencies and make you like a trained animal, white picket fence kind of a structure that we put you into, right? Oh no, it's not that. It's actually that it's absolute and it's meant to be and it's love and it's. So you see how the ego is satisfied by that as a placeholder for actual value, in contrast to the inherent desired suggested tendencies that people may otherwise have. And so what we have here is the ability to consider now through this, right, an absolutist philosophy. We're going to look at social contrivance. So social contrivance is the process by which self-interest is overextended to a collective and sort of backwards. So, for example, let's look at it from this perspective, that the only basis of value that people have and society has in anything is non-basis of self. In other words, self-interest. Right now, that's not necessarily a negative framing as it might seem to come off as. It's more so just an objective observation that the only basis people have rationally, like the same way that animals would have, etc., the only basis you have is the non-basis of self. Like, in other words, it's not a credible or absolute basis. It's just simply, okay, it's zero-sum self-interest. That's it. Now, some alternate or absolute might be posed, like, oh no, but you're doing it for a good cause, or you're doing it for the greater good, or something like this. The problem with those is, upon closer analysis, they would boil down to nothing more than other people glorifying their own self-interest. So you say, oh, let's glorify the greater good of society, which consists of a collective of people, which consists of individual selves, all pursuing and seeking their own zero-sum self-interest. So it's a way to sort of frame it, right, where you say, well, instead of your zero-sum self-interest, you should focus on other people's zero-sum self-interest, and other people will hear that on because they feel, well, okay, I'm in a trick. It's like a trick to say, oh, well, suspend your zero-sum self-interest for the collective and for society's zero-sum self-interest. But the only reason why that works is because, oh, well, the other person saying it is also part of that collective. So they believe that, oh, if we make people undermine their own self-interest, it'll benefit us for our self-interest because we're part of the collective. But then by being part of the collective, you're also undermining your own zero-sum self-interest. So you may think it's some sort of complicit agreement that you're saying, well, that's the sacrifice you make, but that's not the framing that's usually used, right? It's usually a way to bypass critical thinking. Again, like the functional argument I was just talking about with the family system. If you want to make that functional argument and do it for that reason, that's fine, but that's not what people do, right? There's an appeal to ego where you say, oh no, it's absolute and soulmate, it's meant to be, right, to make it seem like something that you're actually choosing or that you actually want, instead of observe it in the more objective way. And now you'll say, oh no, I'm only doing it because it's easier for society to control and it's a functional basis and it's useful, not that it's actually any. So in other words, it's interchangeable. I could just be with anybody else for that same reason, right, under that same criteria. right? So in other words, to specify a process, right? This is what another of my logical razors from here. It's a false absolute to specify or to value something. So in order to be with that one person, or in order to take a process that would be inherent and universal and variable, what you do is you create a false absolute. So now you specify it. Oh, why does it have to be that one person instead of anybody and everybody else? And you create a false absolute. Oh, because it's love and it's meant to be and this and that. Right. So you're appealing to the ego to try to bypass your cognitive dissonance of the inherent desired suggested tendency. And then, which that just means like, you know, let's say the tendency to, be free from that restriction. In other words, oh, I guess I could hold it like at this angle, but like the landscape, not that it really matters. But no, it's a situation where I'm kind of holding it closer because of the rain, because then it may be harder to hear. But no, what you have is the ability to consider that, again, you create a false absolute to specify or to value something that would otherwise be just one interchangeable arbitrary example of a larger process that you could do anything with, right? You could be with anybody else for the same functional basis, and now the defining factor becomes often the nearness postulate, right? Where you say this is a concept that I explained to be that which is nearest to you, which also ties into the non-basic self that I was talking about before. So that which is nearest to you is valued for that reason alone. So it's like, what are these are the two. This is a great kind of way to expose the fallacy. You would say, what are the chances that your absolute love of your life, 1 in 8 billion people, your soulmate, happens to live in the same geographical area as you, happen to go to the same school, happen to work at the same job? These are typically some of the criteria. What are the chances that that absolute 1 in 8 billion person soulmate love of your life happens to meet in that criteria? So it's almost as though that's not the case at all. It's not an absolute. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do that or shouldn't be with them. It means that it's not an absolute process the way the framing and specification would require, because of the simple fact that it's not an absolute. So now it can't be specified from that empirical perspective of, oh, well, you have to be with this one person only, and you're going to try to basically trick and convince yourself and struggle with it yourself, right? Sort of a fallacy of society that's passed on to the individual. It's not society's kind of accountability that is telling you to do something. It's your fault for not adequately overcompensating for that flawed process. That it would say, you have to do this. You have to be with only one person. You have to limit yourself in that way, for example. Right? That's not the accountability of society to justify that it's your fault. That, oh, you just haven't found the right one yet, right? Like this emperor has no clothes fallacy. Like, it's absolute until it isn't. And if it's not absolute, then, oh, that's just somehow, oh, you just haven't found the right one yet, supposedly, or, which is, arbitrary, but it's arbitrary and interchangeable. But even if it was, right, you would say, oh, you're going to struggle with it, like struggle to keep up appearances or to be happy with that or to, everyday struggles. Like, it's absolute, which means there shouldn't be any conflict. But, oh no, you have to constantly have conflict to reinforce it and, do all these different things. Like, if it was absolute, it would speak for itself and be self-evident and self-fulfilling. But instead, oh no, we have to make all these concessions. We have this absolute relationship and it's soulmate, it's love, it's meant to be, but it requires us to not be friends with the opposite gender because we might be attracted to them, other people of the same gender we're attracted to. it requires us not to be friends with them because, oh no, that might invalidate the process and show how it's not absolute, right? So I call this censoring reality. You have to censor reality and not be friends with 4 billion people potentially, or potentially 8 billion if you're attracted to both genders, which is kind of a joke I made in the past. Like, if you're a guy and you're with a girl, and it's like, oh, now you can't have other female friends because that shows you how absolute and meant to be that relationship is, right? That you have to be so insecure about how supposedly absolute this process is that you have to not be friends with 4 billion people just to make that work or just to feel secure in that. That's a very sound and consistent and absolute process, right? That requires you to censor 4 billion people, censor reality, and say, okay, now it works. Now it's absolute if I create just that framing. So imagine how credible a process is that would require you to do that. So, oh, what if you're bisexual? Oh, now you can't be friends with anybody because you could be attracted to either sex. So now you'll say, oh, in order to be in this relationship, it just requires that you not be friends with 8 billion people. So that's a very logical and credible basis to use. And then let's look at the social contrivance. So one of the key terms there that I would use is uh, that necessary and valid, which means you may think it credible. Now let's go back to just the kind of parent idea that I was talking about. That was just more the stimuli acme, like to do with sexual specification. But let's talk about the overall basis of social contrivance. So what this would mean is that, sorry, I'm having to talk a little bit louder than I should because I'm worried about the sound of the rain, but normally it wouldn't be quite like this. Um, okay, so social contrivance would come back to the idea that like you may think that social validation would be credible. So, for example, a mass of people, you can say, oh, how could so many people be wrong? Or if a mass of people does something or believes something, that must give them credibility. However, the problem with that is the simple fact that you could look at it the other way. The fact that something requires social and subjective reinforcement would actually show not only is it not credible, or not necessarily that it's not credible, but that anything by that basis could be validated. So you look throughout human history, this is what I call the stigma effect, or basically just awareness of the nature of a process. The worst thing people can do is view themselves collectively or even individually as credible, because what happens is now it becomes arbitrary. Throughout different periods of human history, people have believed all kinds of things, right? And all other kind of different gods that we would now consider mythology, or in other, if we tribute to the gods, it'll make it rain and it'll water our crops. Like, so all these things that we would ridicule now, so we could look back in history and say, oh, how could anybody possibly have believed that, right? Whatever it was, all the mistakes of the past, the bread and circuses of Rome, how could anybody have let that happen? World War II in Germany, China right now. So you look at it and you say, how could anybody have possibly gone along with that? But yet, in our own time, we view our own state of being as credible. So, God damn, it's hard to talk this loud. I guess maybe if I stop, it'll be better. But the whole point is to do it while I'm driving. Okay, the point is that, again, you view older parts of human history will take their flaws as, will ridicule it. How could anybody have believed that or fallen for that? Right? All these different mistakes and fallacies in history that people believed and were passionate about it and were sure of at the time, versus the same things that would be happening today, we might fall for some fallacy too. But we won't see our own, like, oh, it can never happen to us, and how can so many people be wrong? But we would see those of the past and ridicule those, but we wouldn't see those in our own time, right? The ones that apply to us. We wouldn't be self aware and question it. We would indignantly insist upon it and be so sure of ourselves. So that's where, again, people lack credibility. So the same people, not like the literal same, but again, collectively, a collective mass of people could support that one terrible leader in the past, right? You can use whatever example you want that caused all these horrible atrocities and things to happen, right? People were passionate about that. They were sure of themselves about that. And now we look back and we say, how could people have possibly done that? So this leads to the fallacy of specifying the conflict, where I could say, you make it about the individual and you say, oh, well, this person is better than other people of the past. This person is different. That's why it'll work out. But when you make it about that, you leave yourself kind of at the mercy of them, or at the mercy of that specific, like, oh no, but this one's different, or this one will be different. Right? So you're relying on that subjective basis instead of the larger process where you say, sort of like checks and balances, where you like assume everybody is going to be potentially bad, right? So now you hold them in check by the nature of the process and the structure, like checks and balances in government, etc. Instead of focusing on the specifics, so you would say, you know, instead of relying on, oh no, this one individual is going to be better than those of the past, or this one's different and unique and they're going to be a saint and this and that. Instead of relying on that, you would instead say, no, we're going to assume the worst of everybody and say, okay, no matter who they are, we're never going to give them total power. We're going to hold them in check. We're going to be skeptical and cynical about everybody. So it doesn't come down to the individual and their specifics and their performative aspects and their, kind of the cult of personality basis that is often used. And so again, there's a lack of credibility where throughout human history, you should hold this as a skepticism of yourself and of others and of people in general, right? If people can be fooled into believing that in all kind of other, traditions and rituals and different things that we would now consider ridiculous, right? That the earth could be flat, or that, even some people still believe that, but, that the earth could be flat, or that, again, the sun revolves around the earth instead of the other way around, or that, again, that if we tribute to the gods, it'll make it rain, and all these different things. It shows you that people can believe just about anything, so they're not credible at all. And so we should be very skeptical of that. So right now, in this era of human history, there's other fallacies that you're being controlled by right now, but that you would take for granted and never question. Meanwhile, you would ridicule all of those same mistakes that people have made in the past, all the things that people have believed and been controlled by, right? But now you would believe, now you would believe the ones that control you in your era, and 100 years from now, people would look back and say, oh, look how stupid that was. How could you have possibly fallen for that? So you don't see your own fallacies, but you see those of the past, right? So you have to hold a certain stigma effect of history, like think about all the mistakes, all the fallacies, all the different things people have done and allowed to happen. Shouldn't you be a little more skeptical and careful about yourself and your own, kind of flawed, myopic, limited nature, your limited senses, your limited perceptions, all the different tendencies that you can be controlled by, right? Shouldn't you be a little more skeptical, right? That the human being is myopic, your senses are flawed and limited and can be easily manipulated. And again, we've seen the proof of that throughout all of human history. that it doesn't take much to deceive people. So again, you should be very skeptical. And so when you get to the collective contrivance state, what happens is you, again, seeking validation from arbitrary subjective people in that same way is very questionable, because again, not only is it not necessarily credible, it could be the opposite. The fact that, it could be like a peer pressure argument, or it could be like a collective issue here where, again, a mass of people could have believed any fantastical thing of the past, right? Any ritual, any other dogma, any other, fairy tale, what we would consider today, right? So all these different things that a mass of people have believed, you would say the same thing. Well, a mass of people couldn't have been wrong, right? That many people couldn't have been wrong. So you would say the same thing in the current day. Well, millions of people can't be wrong. So all it would take to validate something is for millions of people to be fooled or tricked into believing it, or to have some incentive to believe it, etc. So that shows you how it's not credible, because, again, it's arbitrary and interchangeable. So if those same millions of people turned around and supported something else tomorrow, you would say the same thing. Oh, I guess they're right about that. So you're not realizing the subjective nature of people, that they can be very fickle, they can be very myopic, they can be very subjective. So it's not necessarily credible. It's arbitrary, it's subjective, it's interchangeable. And so what happens is that you have the ability to consider that, again, the fact that social validation would be necessary of something would be invalidated by the fact that, well, that's arbitrary. Then they could apply that same thing to anything. And throughout history, you would see it has, or throughout different parts of the world, you would see people believe all kinds of things that you might disagree with. So, or even let's use it on a popularity basis, like, Taylor Swift might be really popular, and whether you like or dislike her, whatever, that doesn't mean that she's the best musician ever, or right now, or compared to others, right? Just because something is popular doesn't necessarily mean it has some justifiable basis of standard in meritocracy, or some measurable way, right? And so what happens is, again, popularity and quality are two separate things. You can measure it by some other standard, or you have again, quality, or again, just anything can be popular. It can be arbitrary. It can be subjective. It can just be defined by what people are exposed to. Like the mainstream media could control that, right? It's kind of an overlap there. Like, just because you might genuinely like something, right? Like, okay, you genuinely like Taylor Swift or some big mainstream artist. It doesn't mean you don't like them, but it means that you've been exposed to them, maybe through the mainstream, and you haven't been exposed to other things. So imagine if you were exposed to every single artist equally, and then you decide for yourself which one you like best. It's very unlikely you would like the mainstream one. Then you might think, oh, well, there's some social Darwinism that goes into it. Like, well, there's a reason why you're exposed to them more than others, but you should always be able to make that choice for yourself, instead of, again, the mass of people mostly just reacting. Like, they'll say, well, we're already exposed to this, this, and this, so now we choose between those things that you've been exposed to, like choosing between what's already been chosen for you. Um, Now you seem to make a choice, but you're only choosing between the mainstream things that you're exposed to and that have basically been chosen for you already. Right, like choosing between two major political parties or something like that. And then you also have the ability to consider that, again, exposure, repetition. You might say, well, that's social Darwinism, the fact that something would be exposed more or popular more in the public eye, such that you would be exposed to it. But the problem with that is it doesn't mean that, like the way it comes about could be maybe like a lowest common denominator. So it appeals to the most number of people for such and such reason. Doesn't mean it's a high quality standard accountability, right? You could argue some degree of social Darwinism there, like, well, there's a reason why that's exposed to so many people as opposed to something else, but it could be as simple as, you know, it could be nepotism, like, oh, they have connections in the industry, or it could be, uh, again, the media just likes them and the media is pushing them, or they have certain relations that way, like certainly uh, something that's not politically incorrect, that would be kept out. So there's certain criteria that would be favored or not favored based on that, right? Certain things are going to get more exposure than others. So you could argue there's some level of social Darwinism and quality that goes into it. The reason why is that person popular as opposed to somebody else, but it's not an absolute. Again, it's arbitrary, it's subjective. So you shouldn't treat yourself or other people as necessarily too credible. It's very easy to trick people. You can see throughout human history that is the case. You should always be skeptical. There's always a method of control that's being used on you and on others, right? And so you won't see the one that you're falling for right now, or that's considered normal in this era of human history, but you would see all those of the past. And so now a little skepticism is validated in that. And so let's look at another topic here where, or just getting back to that point, that necessary and valid. So, like, again, it's not only that social, a kind of a mass group collective is not necessarily validating, because again, it's arbitrary. We can see that with anybody. All it takes is, for people to be fooled or tricked or sort of deceived, or again, just lowest common denominator exposure, etc. Just again, throughout history, you could look at, well, a mass of people was also responsible for supporting this dictator or this other leader, or all kind of things that we would question. So maybe they weren't so credible. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they could be fooled. Maybe you have all these flaws. So you should be aware of that actively as we go forward. But also, you understand that you understand that so you would use that, oh, well, collective validation, this many people can't be wrong. Not only is that not a credible basis, as we've just explored, it might even be the opposite. You say, well, the only reason why you're doing something or valuing something is because of a peer pressure or because of some preconceived basis already established. So if you take that away and you assess it on its own merits now you might not do it, or now it would be no better than anything else, or various other things. So now you apply the same basis to, well, how could this many people be wrong? Or, you use that as a crutch. So you say, oh, because a mass of arbitrary subjective people value this, therefore it must be validated and credible. But that becomes very interchangeable. If that same mass of people happen to value something else, you would just mindlessly go along with it. You're not really holding it accountable to any criteria, right? You're just assuming it. You're just going along with it. You could look at this from the fallacy of tradition, for example. Let's use this for Halloween right now. People dressing up, and doing these different things that often, the traditions of an era take on the form of its what I call the machination process, basically the net sum of technology and an era. So, like in the modern era, you would see a very commercialized version of something, right? So, like, oh, Christmas is all about giving presents and this and that. It would be like that because, right, of the modern era that you live in, which has nothing to do necessarily with anything. So the problem is that there's two fallacies when it comes to tradition, that you would have the preconceived thing that, oh, you just do it just because it's already established. So if it wasn't established, you wouldn't do it. Or if something else was established, you would just mindlessly do that too. Right? There's no other necessary criteria to it. So just something being established makes it credible. Something not being established makes it not credible. So it's like this default fallacy that you go for where you would believe that, oh, things are the way they are because that's the way they're meant to be. Right?
That's a logical razor I would use quite a bit. Or it would be like um, the credibility aspect of the credibility aspect of you know like, okay, things are the way they are because that's the way they're meant to be, or like, okay, things are the way they are because that's the way they're meant to be. But that's a default fallacy because, again, so if things were a different way, then that would be right, or if things weren't this way, that would be okay. So you're going just with a preconceived notion. You're not really using any criteria to assess it or hold it accountable. You're simply saying that I love that the rain is trying to troll me. I try to solve one problem with the internet, now we get this, but that's okay. Part of it has to do with the speed that you're driving, but not really. Like, even if I stop, you'll still hear it to some extent. Um, hmm. But no, you have the ability to consider that, again, this sort of default preconceived fallacy. So if anything has been established for a long period of time, you'll just mindlessly go along with it and not question it. Then you might think, well, there must be a reason why. But the reason could be arbitrary, right? It could be, well, oftentimes set by an absolutist action, like somebody does something and then people just go along with it. That doesn't mean that's the best thing or is especially credible. It just means that, okay, people happen to go along with it. So, and then you go along with it because, oh, well, it's already established. And then people in the future go along with it because, oh, well, it's been established. So it could be something as arbitrary as that. So this is a good sort of anti-fallacy that I use, where if you knew or saw or witnessed the origin of something, you often wouldn't take it that seriously. So, for example, if you if you saw how something came to be, now you wouldn't be so willing to take it seriously. It would just be like anything else. So, a good example is like if I introduce a new idea to you right now, if I say, "Oh, you should do this," or "Let's come up with our own holiday," November the 16th, and on November the 16th, we all walk around naked. It's the nudist colony day, right? And everybody walks around naked in society, and we see what that's like. Be a minimalist for a day, right? And you would say, "Oh, that's ridiculous." You're going to question it. You're going to ridicule it. But for other traditions, you just mindlessly accept them. If you go back to their origin, you might. Most people, again, either you don't know the origin of it exactly, just sort of vaguely, or not at all,
but you just mindlessly do it anyway, or you you
if you did know the origin fully, you would realize, okay, it has nothing to do with this, or it's just arbitrary, it's just random. So why are we placing any special emphasis on it? You could just make your own holiday any different day. It's completely arbitrary. So that's the fallacy of tradition or preconception, that you would accept it just because it's already established, or you would you would again fucking when I now I can talk quieter because I've stopped for a second. It messes up your whole voice and diction here. So now we have. Yeah, I guess when you're stopped, it really isn't as much of an issue, right? It won't be as loud, the rain and stuff. So what I can do here is let me. I love how I'm just always being sabotaged by something. It's amazing. So hang on. Like, could I mute it and then like order something from a drive-through and then continue, even as oh I'm a minimalist, I shouldn't be doing that. But no. Okay, let me try to get a few of these points out though, because it's not so much distracting driving, but it's distracting with the whole volume and the rain and everything like that. And so, okay, and I kind of want to test this and listen back to it and stuff like that. So like let me see how this would work. So one of the points I was talking about was the fact that again the arbitrary established tradition fallacy. You go along with something just because it's established, and but if you knew the origin of how something came to be, oh, it was established because some random person one day randomly decided to just do something, right? Somebody like it would be as arbitrary. Oh, I came up with this idea, November the 16th. Let's just go. Everybody is naked, and we're a nudist colony, and we'll try that, right? It's just oh, and then if people go along with it, then oh, you'll do it in the future just because oh, look, it was established. So we give too much credibility and credence to something being preconceived or established because that's meaningless. You have to go back and account for okay, why was it established? How was it established? On what basis, on what reason. So you'll realize, oh, it's just arbitrary and we're just doing it just because. And so it could just easily have been anything else if instead of that, oh, instead of dressing up, it could have been some other, tradition. Oh, this day we all walk backwards or we do everything, upside down or, it would be just as arbitrary as introducing a new idea like that. But for a new idea, you would hold it accountable and critically think about it. You would question it, right? If a new idea is introduced to you, you would question it. But if something is already preconceived, you just mindlessly accept it, right? So the arbitrary and the specifics of it don't really matter. And then you also have the ability to consider that, um, again, the origin point is a great accountability example. If you saw how something came to be, you might question it. Oh, some sweaty random dude in his basement came up with this idea, right? That's why history gets like a free pass. We just kind of forget about it. We just take it for granted. If you saw how something came to be, you would critically think and question it and hold it accountable. And it's not so much that you individually might not accept it, but it wouldn't be like this mass accepted thing that everybody just goes along with because you realize, oh, some random dude just came up with this. Oh, that's how everything came to be. So I'm a random dude or you're a random dude. So you come up with something. There you go. It's just as credible or not as something else, right? So it's the power of preconception that something arbitrary is accepted just because, and then we just go along with it on a social pressure, contrivance, like preconceived basis. And so it's a situation where you're able to let's see. Let me do one more concept here. Like again, tradition, the origin point, the fallacy. If you saw how it came to be, it's arbitrary. You take it for granted. You don't think about it. You don't question it. Bypass your critical thinking. Whereas again, if any new tradition or new idea was introduced to you, you would question that. You would say, "Oh, well, why should we do that?" But you don't do that with anything else. With something preconceived, you would ask the opposite. You would say, "Why shouldn't we do that?" Or, "Oh, stop being a contrarian. Why don't you just go along with this thing that's been established?" Right? Never mind how it became established. Never mind that most people, again, wouldn't even know how it became established. Never mind how different it might be in its current form than what would have been established originally. Never mind that it would have just been arbitrary, subjective, some person just doing something, coming up with it at random, right? Never mind any of that. It would just be the power, again, not of credibility, but rather bypassing credibility. It's similar to how people are in youth when you raise children and when you're indoctrinated, right, at a young age. Why is that credible, or why does that work, right? It's because people are too young to think for themselves, and they're kind of subject and just they're kind of subject to it. They're kind of dependent on it financially, at a young age. And so that works not because, oh, that proves that society is credible in the specific state and the things you believe and, take for granted, right? Oh, that proves that they're validated. But not only does it not prove that they're validated, but under that same condition, you could do almost anything because, oh, you're financially dependent and reliant on your parents at a young age and you can't fend for yourself. So now you're subject to the indoctrination there because it's tied to your survival. So not only does that not validate it, but that seems like, well, that's actually arbitrary and an unsound basis because you're kind of using that. I call it sort of the starving out basis, the fallacy, where society will try to do that too. Like, oh, if it wants to ostracize you, right, it doesn't prove that it's right. It just proves that, oh, we're going to try to put your livelihood at risk, get you fired from your job or, you know, again, ostracize you. That doesn't prove that it's right. That just proves that it has power over you through empirical authority and like empirical authority and monopoly over means. Like, oh, we're gonna take over all the, you know, nature and everything. Like, is everything is owned by some company or by the government or somebody. So now you can't live outside of it. So you rely on it, right? And so again, it's credibility from a way that actually bypasses any standard or criteria from the perspective that, there's no accountability. It's just, oh, if you don't agree with China, and again, it doesn't have to be a government argument. Let's just use that as an analogy. If you live in China, you have to go along with certain things, right, that you might question and in the government. And if you don't, they'll starve you out. Right now, you might get fired from your job, or you might get arrested, or you might get ostracized, or something like this. So that must mean that they're right because, oh, you know, that validates them and people will go along with it. But again, that's arbitrary. You can do that with any government or any society ever. It's the same thing in your own society that regardless what it is, you go along with certain things just because, or because you'd be punished. You'd be punished if you don't, right? Or again, somehow held accountable to that. So it's like a functional basis fallacy. So what happens with that is, well, it may be functional to do that. It may be necessary or useful in your society to do that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's validated by any sort of standard or criteria that you would actually have. It's more just that, okay, this is what's already established, so you have to go along with it just because it's established. Otherwise, you'll get ostracized by it, right? But that's arbitrary and changes over time. So again, in World War II Germany, there might have been certain things you have to go along with, and if you don't, oh, you're just a contrarian, or oh, stop trying to be so entitled, or oh, you know, just just go along with it. Just it's the default, right? Don't question it. This is necessary for society. If you don't do this, you know, you have to do this to make a living, right? Even if some of that, right, is doing something. It's like a functional argument that you would say, oh, you have to do this in order to make a living and to survive, right, in society. You may have to do it, but that doesn't mean it's validated in doing it. Like again, it's not tied to function. You say, oh, you have to defer to some empirical authority structure, but that could be arbitrary and interchangeable, or the function that you're doing is not tied to that empirical authority because again, you could do that same function without it, or you could have a different empirical authority structure and do it in the name of that. So these are two separate things, right? But you see, again, power structure tried to take monopoly over means or try to specify itself to that. So like it takes ownership over that almost.
And so I want to do is I want to kind of keep this going, but take a little break and see if that will work, or I kind of want to listen back and stuff. And so let me see how I can do this. All I would have to do is like mute the mic. I could even just use this as my AFK screen. What if I just mute my mic on here somehow? I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to say. That was a bit disorganized, even more than normal, but again, the core idea is a mass of people can support anything and have supported various things we would question, atrocious throughout history, etc. Right? Doesn't mean it makes them credible, and it could even be the fact that a mass collective mob mentality of support of something is the fact that it's necessary kind of invalidates it in a way, because not that they're wrong, but that's the basis to rely on. Oh, so just it's like peer pressure in an extreme degree. Oh, everyone in society, or like again, a mass of people in society support something or passionately do something, and if you don't agree, they'll kind of ostracize you or come after you. Is that really a form of validation? That's not arguing from a standard, saying, "Oh no, this should be done for this reason. It's productive, it's functional, it has this standard or basis or criteria behind it." Or is it the fact that is it the fact that it's not a functional basis? It's actually again just a mass basis. Oh, this many people do it, and if you don't do it, those people will come after you, or again ostracize you or ridicule you. So again, by that basis, it's arbitrary. It could be anything because again, a mass of people is just doing something, right? You're not assessing it, so you're saying, why do you do this thing? Because everyone else does it, and why does everyone else do it? Because oh, everyone else does it, and why did they do it in the first place? Because of some origin point that they're not even aware of, or that they're not actively holding accountable, and is sort of mystified or glorified, when if you were there to witness it, oh, it would just be some arbitrary subjective person coming up with some arbitrary subjective thing that then people would arbitrarily do, and then you just continue on, right? Is it like some absolute empirical basis that, oh no, we do this thing for this absolute reason that can't be questioned as universal, or is it ultimately just arbitrary and subjective, and now it just becomes the degree of tradition or repetition, exposure, repetition, reinforcement, right, like that. And so again, it's an interchangeable basis. It's subjective. It's arbitrary. So again, social or collective validation would be questioned there, because what it comes back down to is the fact that um, again, it could apply to anything. It's applied to many things that you would question right throughout history. So it's an unsound process, right? The way that a conclusion is come to should not be, oh, we're just going to do it through peer pressure or something like that. So let's use one final thought experiment here, right? You would say somebody, the celebrity or social figure, has a great following and a lot of people behind them, so that makes them right. And this other person is just some random person, and so that makes them wrong. Now, or like everything again, if everything a famous person says is right because oh look at the following that they have and support and attention that they get, or everything some ordinary person says is wrong because oh look they're just some random person and nobody knows who they are, right? But then that can apply to anything. So again, if a famous mathematician says 1 plus 1 is 4, they must be right. Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody considered very smart says something like that. 1 plus 1 is 4, so they must be right. Or if an ordinary person says, "Oh, 1 plus 1 is 2," they must be wrong, right? If we're applying the cult of personality empirical basis, right, that would validate them. So you would have a mass of people behind them versus a lack of that. Again, that example might be too extreme, but a lot of other things you would have credibility just for that reason alone. Even if it's in that field, even if it's relevant to what you're saying, it still doesn't automatically make you right. So this is one of my other logical razors here. This one I think I put up on Twitter more so, but on that stupid the court of reason Twitter. But I say that credibility or your
your credibility or achievement, if you're like very experienced in a field, your credibility is why we hand you the microphone, right, like up on stage, and why we listen to you, but it doesn't obligate us to listen or to agree. So, in other words, right, you could be up on stage because you're famous and successful in a field, but now when we actually listen to what you say, now you can't use your stature as an argument, right? It's why you have the platform, but it doesn't make the argument for you. So if we question you and you say, "Oh, but I'm this experienced astrophysicist, so you can't question me on the subject," but and you're just some random person, but then that again, that means you could never be wrong about anything. Anytime you're arguing of experience, not of actual merit of the conversation. So you would say, again, this person is right about everything, especially to do with the subject because of their experience, and this other person, random person, is wrong about everything to do with that subject just because they don't have that experience. The problem with that is a very internal and basic fallacy because what you're doing is you're saying that you're not actually holding the ideas themselves accountable. So now, again, the reason why you're up on stage or why you're famous or why people are listening to you is because of your experience and credibility potentially. But then once you have that, now you're still accountable to it rather than validated by it. So it's not that, oh, everything you say is right and credible because of your stature. It's the opposite. It's that everything should be held accountable, or maybe not even because of that, but it would be held accountable the same way, right? So it's not a free pass. So again, pretend somebody famous in a particular field is up on stage and they're talking to somebody who's not famous or debating somebody who's just a random person. But now you have to look at each individual idea and claim right on its own for credibility instead of saying, oh no, everything the experienced person says is right and everything the inexperienced person says supposedly is wrong just because of that. Right. Rather than, no, now we look at the ideas themselves and hold them accountable and treat them, do a credibility test on them, right? Rather than again, so don't use in your argument up there now. We give you the mic, we listen to you, you're up on stage, you're famous, you're listened to because of your experience and credibility. But now what you say should be held accountable instead of, oh no, well what they said is right just because of their credibility and stature. How can you question them? Who are you to question them? Instead of let's look at the actual idea. Does it make sense what they're saying or not? They can still be wrong. Somebody else can still be right. You know, don't focus on the idea, not the individual. Right. So that ends up being some very common fallacy because otherwise, then they're always right about everything, no matter what, and somebody else is always wrong no matter what. But again, an idea is just anybody can just do that, right? So, Albert Einstein says 1 + 1 is 4, so I guess he must be right. That seems like too literal of an interpretation. Like, oh, of course that would never happen. But again, on other more nuanced things, right? Especially if it's not something so measurable, and if it is measurable, then again, it doesn't come down to the individual anyway. But no, it's like you have like the again, like a measurable thing would speak for itself. So then you don't need the individual, or even if it's from a credibility standpoint, does it really matter? Because again, the idea should speak for itself. So just because that person happens to be experienced in that field doesn't really matter, right? Like if the idea is good, then okay, fine. If anybody else has had that same idea, then it's just a reflection of some objective, validated, logical basis of value, right? So it's the idea that we focus on. Right. The fact that, again, that person given the opportunity to be in a position of mass reverence like that is fine. But again, focus on the idea, not the individual. Um, but again, yeah, a mass can support anything. So it's arbitrary, subjective. You should hold it accountable to actual standard criteria. Don't just use some default preconceived basis to say, well, this thing is famous. So therefore,
that makes it right. So let me try to take a minute here, and I just want to see like how long I can do this for, or so we've gone from like 80% battery to 50% battery, and how long? How long have I been going for? We've gone for about an hour. So that means I could probably do like 2 to 3 hours on this at max. So even if I wanted to do it for a longer time or like all day, I couldn't because this battery would run out. Um, so that is unfortunate. So let me try to mute it and do something here. Like if I'm talking, okay, so it shows the Bluetooth icon next to the microphone, but I can't tell whether it's using that or not because I always have like this Bluetooth headphone on. Like, what if I put that away? Let me turn that off.
So now is it using the phone mic? That's so weird if it would do that automatically because I use that like as a headphone. Okay, so something did happen there, like where I took a break for a second. This is really going to trigger me. So I took a break for a second there, and I got some food from a drive-thru, right? And so the problem with that is I just kind of left it to the side, and I put Be Right Back even on here, and I muted the mic. But then it still ended the stream. So I don't know if that's... Oh, you know why that could have been? Because you go under... Oh, that'd be crazy. You go under, like, the overhang of the thing, so then you lose the Starlink connection. Maybe that's why. That'd be crazy. You go, like, under the overhang of the drive-thru. Right, so now... Oh, you're saying... That's crazy if that's why. That probably could be why. But no, I kind of wanted to keep it going through that and see if I can just keep it going as a long thing. So, yeah, we did our first part was the absolutist philosophy, discussing that. Now, the second part, I want to finish my little tier list because of the horror movies, right, little Halloween theme thing. And then from there, I want to, like, test a game on here. So the only barometer of how long this can go is the battery, which does drain super, super fast. And so I'm not the biggest fan of that, right? That it will get like a couple hours at most out of it. The battery for the anchor thing, which power bank, which is needed for the thing, for the anchor power bank, which is needed for the Starlink Mini. So that is one potential problem. So here we're going to do what I might do, because see, I had done that for like almost a 2-hour session, and I did like a full ranking on the tier list, but the problem is we'll get a little ASMR mukbang as I do this. So I'm eating that. I always think of that quote from Giannis where he's going through the drive-thru. He gets the 50-piece Mac Minis, not 49, not 51, because he had 50 points in the closeout game. First player since Bob Pettit against the Celtics, the dynastic Celtics, before they had won like only one at that point. 50 in a closeout game 6 to win the, not even game 6, but just like 50 in a closeout game of a finals. So yeah, I got a 10-piece of the minis, the Chick-fil-A minis, and then the hash brown and a chocolate shake and a brownie and a fucking biscuit too, just whatever. I'm not going to have it all right now necessarily, but or maybe I will. But just to show, like, Chick-fil-A is not something I often get normally. And it's expensive as hell. It's like $30 for that. You could say, oh, that's a lot of food, but compared to, I could get like a pizza at Domino's for $10, and that'll last me the whole day. It's not the best value proposition. So, yeah, well, we'll just kind of relax here for a minute, but then I'll do the horror movie tier list. What I might do, like I said, because the last half of that was muted, or more than half of it was kind of bullshit, I might just re-watch my VOD and do that. And then I want to like try a game on here too, just to kind of test all facets of this and how it works. So the stream ended there, and I don't know if it crashed, but then it didn't come back on either. And so I guess what that means is, what that means is, I don't know why that happened. It must have been because I went under that overhang of the thing. So maybe I should go inside next time. Overcome the social anxiety of the awareness of the social contrivance, cognitive dissonance, and go inside and leave this. Because again, I'm just thinking like if I do it for a long period of time, I don't want to keep ending and restarting the stream if I go AFK for like a minute. Since we're doing this, let's actually do something related to it. Let's do a fast food tier list. Since I'm such a fast food fiend. Right, and a lot of them I either wouldn't have been to or I don't really care for, or my what I've had at them are very basic, right? Wait, there's nothing even on that. Or I'm dumb. Like I would only have the same thing over and over, kind of. So A&W, I like their drinks, like the root beer float and stuff. I don't even really know what their food is. There's some of these I won't penalize because okay, Arby's is okay. I'm not big on burgers. Their chicken is like moderate. It's okay. It's kind of average, right? Their curly fries are good. The drinks are pretty good. They have some good shakes and whatnot. Right, so this is middle of the road. It's average, It's not something I ever really have on a regular basis or go out of my way to have. It'd be like a last resort, like okay, or just to mix it up. But not bad, right? Not terrible. Don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. I had this once when I was in like a different state, so I guess they don't have them around here. The Bojangles, it was like a good breakfast. Right, we had like a breakfast there. I don't actually even remember it too well, so I'll just leave it. Boston Market is interesting. They only have it like in the mall, or I've even had some of those frozen packets. Like a TV dinner version of it. It's actually pretty good. Have some good biscuits, chicken, mac and cheese, almost like a, better version of KFC or something. And Burger King is kind of tough to assess because, like, it's good, right? I just do that as a placeholder. It doesn't mean I'm putting it in D, but I have to give it a certain amount of love. The onion rings are good. Their fries are better than McDonald's. They're kind of juicier, fuller. The chicken fries are good. They have, good desserts, Hershey pie, shakes, ices. Like, they are really hard for me not to... Hard for me not to do that over the years with how much I've had it. And see, one of the metrics with fast food, too, is the cost efficiency. So, like, you'd say, Chick-fil-A versus Burger King, you'd say, of course, Chick-fil-A is better. But is it really better when you come to the cost? Right, Burger King could be, a lot of these could be a lot less expensive. And so, Cane's, again, I've never had. Maybe some of these are just not in my area. Right, like certain things are going to be... I love the placement of that ad, is amazing. Some of these I've never had or they're not around. So again, Chick-fil-A I can't put above any of those because again, it's good, but it's expensive as hell. Right, so the cost efficiency is not the greatest. You got to measure the quality versus the cost. Chipotle I don't think I've ever had. It's not my kind of food. Churches, I feel like you never see around here. A lot of these you don't have. Well, first of all, Denny's isn't even fast food, because maybe Boston Market isn't either, but they're not fast food. You have to sit, you have to wait, you have to dine, right? I feel like that shouldn't even count. But if it did, it's good. I mean, it's breakfast. That's kind of one criteria, right? I should maybe put these more fully, like, right, I can't really measure it, but some of it's, again, cost you have to consider. You have to consider variety, right? So, like, but I guess you could say that with a lot of these. Like, okay, KFC doesn't necessarily have breakfast, but it has, like, lunch and dinner. I guess breakfast is limiting. If you feel like, okay, you mostly have breakfast or you only have breakfast. Again, Chick-fil-A would be higher, but the cost is the main flaw. Burger King is good, well-rounded. The quality isn't the highest, but it's good. Boston Market is good quality, but maybe, I don't even know. I haven't had them enough. Right? Like I said, they only had it in the mall at one point. Right, Arby's is just sort of average. Denny's is maybe limited in the menu. Like a breakfast menu. So Domino's is a good example here. Once again, it's not fast food, because you have to order it ahead. Same thing like a Pizza Hut. These are not really fast food. But I've always considered it sort of average, right? Like, I've gotten it a lot over the years because it's very efficient, very cheap. So from a cost efficiency standpoint, it's good. But quality-wise, it's not that good. They have some good sides. It's like in that Burger King tier, like, where it's always there for you. It's like, I've had it a lot over the years, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, right? The pizza is always mediocre. It's kind of very thin, very underwhelming, papery, soggy, kind of, I don't know. I just always consider it underwhelming. But when people compare it to Pizza Hut, I'm always shocked. Pizza Hut is way juicier, fuller. You got the deep dish. You got... Obviously, they both make different styles, but the basic Domino's pizza is very thin and underwhelming, and the slices feel kind of tiny and just basic, right? So it doesn't have the juicy fullness of, like, Pizza Hut. So to me, that's not even a debate. The only reason why I'd ever get Domino's over Pizza Hut is because it's a little bit to sometimes a lot less expensive. Their sides are pretty good, but it would be just less expensive. Right, which is a legitimate criteria, don't get me wrong, but if you really compare it on a quality-to-quality basis, like, which one's better, it's not even close, right? Pizza Hut's way better quality, right? Get a deep dish, pan, original pan kind of style, right? That you get, like, 3 Domino slices in one, because it's full, it's thick, it's got the full crust, whereas Domino's is, like, paper thin. So I'm shocked that that's even ever a debate. Now, Dairy Queen is going to be an interesting one, because it would be one that you would think, oh, you're going to disqualify to put it in the Denny's category because, oh, it's like a one trick, it's for desserts. But actually, from some years ago, I tried this, I just had it yesterday, in fact. They have, like, this sauced and tossed, like, honey barbecue chicken strips, and that's been one of my go-to favorite things in all the fast food. Right, since I tried it. So not only do they have good desserts and stuff, but that chicken is actually amazing. So I'm giving it almost for just one dish, but that dish is actually amazing. Right, so surprisingly, I'm putting them in there for food, so that's the balance. They have at least one really good dish, which seems maybe unfair to even do it like this, again, because I'm not that much of a fast food expert, but from these places, I haven't even had very much. Right, like, I'd have the same, even like Burger King, okay, I've had it over the years. I've really only had the chicken fries over and over, and the, fries, onion rings, desserts, drinks, but I haven't, like, I'm not a sandwich person, so I can't even judge the sandwiches of any of these. So I love this. We're eating fast food as we're ranking fast food places. Then we'll do the movies, and then I'll try to do a game, and then my battery's going to run out. So yeah, this battery drains, though. You know, it's a power bank, and it's going through. Maybe just because, again, this Starlink thing, I keep wanting to call it like this Tesla thing, or this, like, almost this Tesla coil. This Starlink thing maybe just is very power consumptive, but subs, I'm not a sub person. Starting to glitch out a little bit now, though. Five Guys, either I've never had. There are some around here, but yeah, I'm not a Five Guy type of person. This is not. I don't roll that way, huh? You can make like a whole compilation of like innuendo, in and out. Five Guys. What are we doing here, dude? Or like there's a stupid social media trend like, oh, I'm going to Ashley's, and then, oh, what? Who's Ashley? Oh, it's like Ashley's Furniture. Or there's something similar you could do with fast food, right? I was trying to find the most innuendo-friendly ones. So IHOP, again, it's going to go in the similar category to the Denny's. Just like a one-trick, good at what it does, but I feel like those we don't have around here, Jack. And either these are ones we don't have, or I don't like, or I don't care for. Some of these I've never even heard of, honestly. So we were ranking just on quality. Domino's would be much lower, right? And again, like Pizza Hut would be the best, but it's all about the cost efficiency, so it's hard for me to judge that. I feel like a lot of people, if they do these, right, that's what they wouldn't account for. They'd put like, oh, Chick-fil-A is at the top, but it can't be at the top because, again, the cost, it's too expensive, so you have to consider that. So KFC had a notable thing happen this year, maybe just even in my area or maybe in general. They brought the wedges back, but that was a big mistake. One of the greatest tragedies of COVID that we lost, for whatever reason, it was right around then, we lost the wedges. So look, I've gotten food poisoning from a KFC before. I've gotten KFC for years, since I was a kid. I've always liked it. I love their sides. The mac and cheese is great. Even like when I wouldn't eat meat when I was younger, I would still love it. You know, you got mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, you got the wedges, you got so many good sides, right? And so what you learn from that is the fact that the chicken itself is not the most impressive part of it. And it depends a lot on the branch and the mood of the employees. Like, sometimes it's cooked just right. I had it like a week ago, and it was cooked perfectly. And then I had it again, and it wasn't, even from the same one, right? So it's like, it depends on that. So that variable is what keeps it out of the best. But it is really good. I mean, and it seems ironic saying that. Like, oh, their chicken isn't the greatest. A lot of the time you have to spit it out, or some of it, isn't edible. So even despite their chicken not being the greatest, their mac and cheese was always amazing, right? Great wedges, mac and cheese, biscuits, like the whole thing. Everything is good, and it's cost efficient too, right? Compare this to the Chick-fil-A example, right? I just spent like 20 plus bucks, even if I didn't get maybe a little extra, fine. $20 for like one meal from Chick-fil-A, right? You get like a 4-piece chicken strip, and you get like a side, and you get a drink, and that's like $20 for one meal. For $20 roughly, I can get a 6-piece chicken from KFC, and these are big pieces of chicken, and four individual sides, and 4 biscuits, all this for $20. So that can last you the whole day. I'll have a couple pieces, I'll have a couple sides, and I'll put it in the fridge, and I'll have it later. Right? I'm looking at the economics, cost efficiency. So for $20 from KFC, I can get a whole day's worth of food, maybe even more, into the next day. Whereas from all these, like, you're getting, again, like Chick-fil-A for $20, you get like one meal. This is a very in-depth analysis by a fast food expert. Then Little Caesars is garbage quality. I love their crazy bread, right? The little breadsticks. But aside from that, the pizza itself isn't good. But again, it's always cost effective. So these are kind of in there for opposite reasons. But, it's still like a C though, actually. But again, it's so cost effective, and even they have that fast. This is, I would say, technically the only fast food pizza on here is going to be Little Caesars. Why? Because they have that hot and ready thing where you can go and just get a pizza, right? That they have ready instead of having to order it like Domino's and stuff. I haven't seen a Long John Silver since I was a kid, so maybe they're just not in this area. McDonald's is a tough one. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in the one trick category with these because I love their breakfast, but everything else I don't like. Their chicken is actually bad. They had at one point years ago, and I've never been able to find it since. They had like these chicken strips that were actually really good, like these honey barbecue. I feel like it was like these actual really good tender strip type things. And then they got rid of it quickly. But yeah, their nuggets are garbage. Their fries are kind of soggy. So I don't like anything besides their breakfast, which I swear by. So that's what keeps it from being lower, I guess. Don't care about this, don't care about this. Panda Express is a bit of a tough pill because they don't have any around me anymore. But it was always like that. It's like that, food court type Chinese that you get at a mall or something. But it's a guilty pleasure kind. It's not really that good. But it's different. I mean, it's all right. The Panera I've only had a couple times. They have some good mac and cheese and stuff. Maybe it falls in the same category of being like a little expensive for what it is. Papa John's, I honestly haven't had much ever. So we'll get rid of some of these. See, Pizza Hut, again, is this list fast food or not? Wait, that's not supposed to happen. Or I guess casual restaurants, okay. So yeah, Pizza Hut is a big one. That's been my favorite since I was a kid, like just in general of any sort of outside food. That's got to go there. It's a little expensive, but it really lives up to the quality. Their sides are good. Their pizza, especially original pan, it's just the best. Like, it's the best pizza you can get as outside of some specialty, at least of any of these. Way better than Domino's, way better than Little Caesars. It's not even a contest. Arguably, the only thing that could bring it down is the cost, maybe being a little expensive, but Popeyes is pretty good. It would be like in the KFC tier, but just not quite as good. Some of their desserts are pretty good and stuff. The chicken is actually better than KFC, but again, I'm not judging it just by that. Don't care about this, don't care about this, don't care about this. I'm not a sub guy, don't care about that. Sparrow's is one of those mall staples, like where that's the only place you see it sometimes. So Sparrow's is going to be sort of like a guilty pleasure type category. It's actually pretty good. I love the red sticks and stuff. Maybe not that cost efficient, so put it in like the Domino's tier. Yeah, I think Domino's is maybe overrated the way that I've heard people talk about it. There was some conversation, I can't remember who it was, maybe Asmongold and McConnell or something back in the day, discussing it, like, and one of them is actually saying Domino's is good or better than Pizza Hut, and I'm just kind of shocked. I don't get it. Again, it's cheaper, it's more efficient that way, but it's definitely not better. Sonic is pretty good. Between each of these, I have to take a bite of something myself. Obviously, good shakes, good drinks, decent food. It's kind of, a lot of these are in like the middle tier. Like, they're good, but I'm not like super enthusiastic or crazy about them. right? That's sort of like the guilty. A is just like perfect, right? The best. B is like some of the guilty pleasure stuff. Like, again, they're really good, but they have like one flaw. KFC is really good, except the chicken sometimes isn't good. Boston Market, maybe a little expensive, I can't remember. Dairy Queen is very good. You got the one dish, at least that I like. Burger King is not the highest quality, but well-rounded, very good. Again, Panda Express, like a guilty pleasure. Popeyes, again, same sort of thing. So those are all solid. And then C is, or again, like the one flaw, like Chick-fil-A is too expensive. Sparrows is maybe expensive. Like, can you even order a whole pizza from Sparrows if you wanted to? Like, I've never tried to do that. Subway, I don't care. Taco Bell, again, these are just, some of these are not my type of food. I sometimes have, like, very simple taste when it comes to that, like, just very basic. Okay, Wendy's is pretty good. I've actually had this quite a bit lately, so what I'll do is, it's good, but it's one of those, like, just kind of get it over with. They have these tenders that are pretty good. I don't know if it's a new thing or I just started getting it. Some good drinks, some good dessert. It's just like sort of, again, like sort of solid. It's not great, but it gets the job done. Yeah, a lot of these I just haven't tried. To be fair, a lot of those don't. You might think, oh, you're a casual. Some of them are in my area, but a lot of them are not, right? Like some of these you never see, or there's very few, or again, they'll only be like in the mall or something. That's a good definitive list. Again, Pizza Hut, always, ever since I've been a kid. I can't say that the quality has really changed that much either. If you get an original pan, it tastes almost the same. Right? Some people have said that, like, where, oh, it doesn't taste the same, it's not as good. I think maybe it's just more expensive now, relatively. But yeah, their original pan recipe is goated. And then KFC, again, everything besides the chicken is good. Boston Market, maybe expensive. Dairy Queen, mainly is just the one dish and the desserts. Burger King, well-rounded, mediocrity. Wendy's, you know, quick, get the job done, not blow your mind, but decent. Panda Express, again, guilty pleasure. Popeyes, sort of same thing. Sonic, again, decent desserts, decent food. Domino's, again, it's cost-effective, but not really that special. Good sides, though. Chick-fil-A, too expensive. Panera, I'm assuming too expensive. Far too expensive. And the C tier is like cheap convenience food, or one trick, like, oh, okay, only breakfast. So what I almost wanted to do here, which seems a little stupid, I want to watch my own VOD of those horror movies. And I wanted to, maybe we could watch it even on 2x speed. And then I want to fill in the commentary of what I missed. So, if I go here, I'll be watching my own VOD on my own stream. But it's because it got cut off or whatever. Or the audio got fucked up. Let me see at what point I did that.
They're there, or again,
Around like the 40 marks. Let me try to like recreate what I was saying.
Right.
Because I'm not going to remember it necessarily, but
Ultimate horror movies left. I get 182. Okay, so let's
what am I doing there?
By the franchise. So like Saw.
Make sure really my mic is actually working, because right? Yeah, that was the whole problem there. Is that it auto muted, and I don't know why.
It's not really that good.
Or again, like it's trying to use your Bluetooth thing.
The gimmick of
now
it,
it's
like,
going to be too small for me to even see.
Want to play a game is fine, but
let's just try to get to the point where it cuts off the audio, which I think is coming out soon. It'll be like an hour of this, which I might try to just speed run through. I might watch it on like 2x speed.
You know, horror uses its genre as an excuse.
But yeah, generally this seems pretty good performance.
Deeper meaning, and the same is true of comedy movies. So the worst movie ever would be a comedy horror hybrid that uses both as an excuse.
Starlink.
It's like a premise picture, I
See,
call
why
it.
did it suddenly happen here?
Works so well as a movie.
So it's like right around here. It was like, oh, maybe I just went AFK for a minute, but so it's actually an hour. I'm gonna have to sit here for a fucking hour doing this, and my battery's gonna die on that thing. This is me talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so let's just kind of mirror what we're doing there a little bit. Maybe let's not do 1.5, but let's do, I almost should just do it again, period, but, or can you not do that on, oh yeah, here we go. Let's do like 1.5 speed. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of surprised me the first time I saw it. It's kind of gritty. It's shot almost like a documentary style, almost like a found footage. So it's more gritty. It's meant to be more realistic, play it straight. So some people criticize it, but I hold it in pretty high regard. So I'm going to put it in the A tier here, or maybe even in the S, or not quite, because it falls short of S. Why? Because it doesn't have the deeper story resonance to it, which it almost does, because again, the girl kind of going crazy at the end, laughing on the back of the truck, like this existential life-affirming experience. But it's told more straight. Like, it doesn't try to make it kind of cartoonish or anything. It's like, it tells as though it's like a real event happening, right? And it's sort of shot in a messy way, again, a little more realistic, like documentary found footage. So it's trying to play it straight. So if you, but it's just gross and it's irredeemable, kind of a thing. But then aren't these all like that? So it doesn't try to make it as much of a cinema as like cinematic. It tries to make it more, again, gritty. So I can appreciate that. It still lacks like the further depth of storytelling that I seek, like from a movie like Signs, which wasn't even on this list. The problem is I don't even know what I'm talking about as I'm watching this, because it's like unless I'm hovering over something. This is even on 1.5 speed too. That's so annoying to lose that. It's like an hour of my in-depth cinema analysis. I don't like redoing stuff like this. So what you have here is the ability to consider that. Again, that probably will end off in the highest spot, what I remember. I don't think anything maybe even got in the S tier. Come to think of it, a lot of these either I haven't seen, or it wasn't even that I hadn't seen them, it's that I didn't care about them per se. See, Children of the Corn, I was using that C tier as like the gimmick tier. So like, Cabin in the Woods has a great premise. It's a premise picture. What a cool idea. Let's have this cabin in the woods. It's like Until Dawn basically uses a similar premise, and everything is sort of scripted and a simulation, and it's all part of some plan and trick, right? So it's a great premise, but it doesn't do anything outstanding beyond that. So it's just a cool idea, guilty pleasure. Same thing, Children of the Corn is a great idea, right? This sort of cultish mentality and the kid being evil and all this, and then it's like a sequel to The Good Son if that kid survived or something. But yeah, those are like the gimmick ones. Even Child's Play, I was doing it more so for the first one. I wasn't caring about the sequels for any of these, but yeah, like the Child's Play was like, it's like a guilty pleasure also. Like, you know where it's going. It's just premise heavy, right? Oh, wouldn't it be cool if this doll came to life and killed everybody? You can imagine them pitching it. It's like, oh, what more depth is there to it than that? And there's not much, right? Oh, he kills the babysitter, frames the boy for it. He's terrorizing the boy. It's a killer doll. Like, it's all predictable, but it's still sort of enjoyable to watch. So, again, the C tier is sort of like that. The premise, even Final Destination, that's really what I was doing. It's an awesome premise, great idea, but then it's just sort of, okay, we get it, right? Like, it's just the same thing over and over, even in the first movie, never mind even the sequels. The Witch, I was really disappointed by. That was a really hyped up movie, very well received by critics, and I thought it was very overrated. It's very overrated from the sense that it's just kind of bland and doesn't go anywhere. Not saying it has to be like action-packed or nonstop jump scares, but it was just like there wasn't enough depth. Like, the family's having some issues and stuff like that, but so what? It wasn't like super engaging that way. and it also wasn't like super effective in any other way. Like it's just sort of bland and dry, and you're just kind of waiting for something to happen, which again, I'm not saying it has to be jump scares, over the top stuff, but to me it was just sort of bland. There wasn't much to it, and even the ending is kind of dumb, spoiler alert, I guess, because it's this fact that they, you know, like, oh, she's constantly accused of being a witch, but she's not a witch, I guess, and then she becomes a witch by the end because she's been falsely accused so much. It's like it's like a psychological effect, right? You bully somebody for, like, you bully a kid in school for being a certain way. Like, you can say, oh, this guy must be crazy, this guy's weird. But they're fine, they're just quiet. But then because you treat them that way and preconceive that, now they become that way, right? Because you're again, you're sort of manifesting or preconceiving. So you go in with a negative preconceived notion, and then you make it into reality by, oh yeah, and I had all these names for the tiers, so like heart piercing, right? Trying to come up with something horror related for each of these. So let's see how long this is gonna go on for, man. Heart piercers. There's like premise pictures, is one of my favorite terms, or like ghoulish gimmicks, I think I maybe said. Right, like a premise picture where, again, you can imagine the picture. Like, wouldn't it be a cool idea if we did this? Okay, cool. But then what? What about it? Right, like the Truman Show is a good example of the opposite of that. The premise is great. Like, oh, what if this guy's life was a TV show? But then they go so far with it. Right, they go into a whole existential, midlife crisis with him and so many different things. So you have to kind of go a little further and deeper with your material, right, than just the surface level like that. So again, a lot of these I just didn't care to really talk about if I didn't have anything interesting to say about them. It almost makes me want to do this again, like on PC or whatever, but I'll just do this. And I'll probably put this on my main channel because I haven't put anything on there in a while. I try to put like different things on there that are more like noteworthy or whatever. Again, The Witch is overrated. I didn't see the hype with that. Again, The Purge, another like premise picture, cool premise, but not much more than that. Twilight Zone, the movie, was kind of overrated or just underwhelming. The anthology style doesn't work as well with that. Jump scare bait. So jump scare bait, ghoulish gimmicks, and like skin deep slasher. Like it goes as far as you can go without really getting to the heart of it, if you will, like some deeper theme or meaning. We're kind of ranking the original It, and it's kind of it's a pretty bad movie. Again, whether the book validates that or not, it's hard to say, but in the end, he's a spider. It's like, it's just random shit. The performance is pretty good by Tim Curry, but other than that, it's pretty forgettable. So again, Halloween is even one of those that I use in that skin deep tier. Vertigo is good. I mean, the Hitchcock movies are kind of, speak for themselves, but like Halloween I put there too. Because again, it's good, it's effective, right? He's following everybody around, it's kind of creepy, it's, we get it, but what greater depth or value is there? Is there some sort of resonance to it? Or is it just, oh, he's just trying to kill people? Donald Pleasance builds it up. Hellraiser is unique. I was kind of mixed because I personally like it, but it has a lot of flaws. Kirsty's acting, the actress is pretty bad at times. Julia's acting is good, and her character is kind of interesting, how she gets corrupted by her urges for Frank, and she becomes a killer and all that. Frank himself is a fascinating character. It's a great practical effects achievement. Right, the Cenobites look really good. I compare it to The Thing in that sense. Two of the greatest practical effects achievements, The Thing, John Carpenter, and Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser. But also, it's like, it's just lacking something, right? Like, it's decent, interesting story, but there's some amateurish elements to it. Again, the Cenobites look really good, although you only see them a couple of times. Frank, like I said, I like as this sort of body snatching, dimension drifting guy who's able to cheat death, escape the Cenobites, do so much, mischief, and sort of just makes him seem so crafty and so like a guy who cheated death, and he was seeking the ultimate hedonism. And I love his whole experience of his character, even though he's sort of the villain too. Right, he's able to do all this. He steals whatever. Like, he goes through so much. The Cenobites try to kill him. He escapes them. Then he gets his body back by sheer chance. Then he gets Julia to help him get his body back. Then he steals his brother, right, his brother's body or face or whatever. Like, he goes through so much that he's able to escape and survive and just be like this cockroach who just won't go away. Again, it's sort of like a savant picture where you would say, you know, it's great in some ways. Practical effects are great. Julia's performance is good. Frank's character is interesting. The Cenobites are well presented. But then some of the other elements are awkward. Kirsty's acting, everything, you know, dialogue is a little bland at times. So it's really bad in some ways and really great in some ways, which is probably what I'm saying right now. So I guess I'm the type with that sort of thing where I'd look at the glass half full, that it does some things really, really well despite overall seeming like a bad movie. And it sort of is that elevated horror, like the tiered horror concept, the idea that, oh, you present Frank as the monster in the house, right? So Frank's the creepy monster in the house, and he's like a zombie, and he's coming to life, and he's getting Julia to kill people, and then he's going to end up killing everybody. Right, that alone could be the premise of the movie, but then it's a tier above. Like, oh, now the real horror is leagues above him, the Cenobites. And it's like, you know, so it's like horror within a horror. You have the monster in the house, but the monster in the house is just the tip of the iceberg. You actually have the other Cenobites way above that, and they act as like this chaotic, you know, Lovecraftian force that's not really good or bad, right? Demons to some, angels to others. Like, let's see what else we have here. 40 minutes. I'm getting a little impatient with this, but just I really hate having to do this, and I'll come to find out this is muted too. That's the problem with having such a dead stream, is that nobody's there to tell you that. And it just happened randomly too, all right? Like, the first 40 minutes was fine. It's not like there's any copyrighted music or shit. It's just all, you know. But no, my general review, not to jinx it early, but is this Starlink actually works pretty well, right? And the only issue now is the battery. If I wanted to do this for much longer. So we'll finish this. I don't know what I'm even talking about at this point. I don't know what I just moved there. The Witch is overrated. Some of these are gimmicky premise pictures. Horror movies in general are a bit of a gimmick. Just a bunch of jump scares, effects, right? Excuse, low budget, churn them out, sequelitis, right? So it's a very disreputable genre from that perspective. Very few of them have any profound meaning or value to them. Very few even try. Okay, It Follows is extremely overrated, where, again, the whole basic premise is, okay, there's like, you know, the monster, its manifestation is always in the background following you, and you see it walking in the background as the characters are talking, like, wow, that's a cool effect. But so what? That's all there is to the movie. There's no other depth, no nuance. The characters are forgettable. This is one that was touted by critics, but it's actually very, very ordinary and very overrated, like The Witch. I'm putting it right next to. So again, yes, the thing is following you in the background, and wow, there's some scenes where like the characters are oblivious and they're just sitting there talking, and if you're astute as an audience member, you'll see, oh look, it's following them in the background, how cool, right? But so what? Like, it's not. I just could never take it seriously. It's one of those that gets kind of convoluted in its own you know, minutia of how the thing works, like the rules around it. Oh, we can beat it if we do this, or if we close the door, or like it'll just be one of those really suspension of disbelief nightmares that it's just going to work in arbitrary ways, and all the concern and dialogue is going to be, again, of how this thing works or doesn't work, but it doesn't matter because there's nothing more to the story. Very basic, very bland, forgettable characters, a lot of just round and round about the technical, like, oh, how the powers work, how they don't work. The Shining, great images. Again, I love the ballroom. I love a lot of those scenes where he's talking to the ghost, like the, you know, the bartender and the Grady in the bathroom and all this. The problem is it's sort of random and arbitrary, so I do think it's a bit overrated. Shelley Duvall's performance is bad, despite people trying to sympathize with her and stuff like this in her older age, especially people are feeling bad, but it's got nothing to do with that, right? It is a little over the top. Some people say, oh, that's what like real terror looks like or something, but I don't think her performance was very good, period. And even Jack Nicholson kind of starts off the movie a little bit too crazy, so it doesn't make the development of him becoming crazy as meaningful. Stephen King even didn't like it himself, although to be fair, he's liked some of the movies that aren't very good. Right, some of the other movie adaptations that didn't do so well. So again, it's got some beautiful visuals, well presented, good atmosphere, but on one hand, Jack Torrance isn't a very threatening character or killer because he kills one guy, the cook, and then everybody else he gets outfoxed by his kid and his wife, so it's not like he's that impressive or that scary or intimidating. He's a bit of a clown, actually. And then also, it's the fact that there's like a lot of random arbitrary stuff, especially that happens towards the end. That almost is what ruins it for me. It's one thing if Jack is somehow interacting with these manifestations, and even Danny is obviously the Shining, and he's sort of bringing them out by his presence there. But then suddenly towards the end, Shelley Duvall's character, right, Wendy, she starts seeing stuff. She goes out in the ballroom and there's skulls and the blood from the elevator. It's like, let's just get everything out at the end. Just a bunch of little gimmick imagery, but it's just random. It feels arbitrary, right? Like, oh, it's because Danny's bringing all this stuff out all of a sudden, but because he's in a heightened state of adrenaline or whatever, it just feels random, right? It's a movie that has a lot of random, arbitrary images, and of course, you have the Stanley Kubrick effect of, like, people try to sniff his farts and over-explain and analyze everything he does. Like, oh, there's a deeper meaning, and oh, you just don't get it. But let's count, like, the random images and everything like that, right? The random images are, like, okay, the woman in the bathtub, who room 213 or whatever it was, right? And so Danny goes in there, gets beat up by her, and then Jack goes in there, right, and then is being, like, seduced by her or something, and then he runs away. It's like, to an average audience member, you're watching this, like, it's just random. Okay, there's a random ghost woman, whatever, in the bathtub. So, like, there's no deeper meaning to that, and we don't hear any follow-up, and there's nothing, right? It could be some story where maybe she, you know, did something in there before where she passed away in the tub, whatever. And I'm sure in the book, you'd say, oh, you got to read the book, but you shouldn't have to do that. So to us as the viewer of the movie, in and of itself, it's just a random scene. Random girl in the bathtub, that's it. Right, like, there's nothing, so it's just random. Okay, you go to a random room, girl in the bathtub. Any other context to that doesn't matter because we don't get that from the movie. Oh, you'd have to read the book and you find out the story of who she was and this and that. Like, you should give us a little dialogue or follow-up. Like, we just see her, that's it, it's done. Then there's a lot of moments like that, too. Like, you know, okay, at the bar, there's some nuance to that because he's, like, off the wagon and trying to, you know, he's having alcoholic urges and stuff like that. So it's like, this is like almost the bartender is almost trying to tempt him, right, to go back to being an alcoholic. And then the guy, Grady, in the bathroom is trying to tempt him to kill his family the same way that he was like the previous caretaker. So there's some nuance and good scenes in there, but to me, it's just like a lot of arbitrary random images, especially towards the end. You have the bear guy kneeling down, doing something doing some, you know, erotic act with the other guy. It's just, and that comes off as a kind of comical, right? Oh, the music comes on and like it's scary, but it's scary that there'd be anybody in the hotel at all. But the fact that they're doing that, right? Like, the thing is, based on the book, there'll be all these stories like, oh, this was this character who had this past and this history. But based on the movie, we don't get any of that, right? So we just literally see, so that might be a scene in the book, but it would have been more nuanced to it. Like, oh, we would have heard the story about who this was or something. The thing is that we literally just see, oh, there's a dude performing some oral act on a guy in a bear suit, and it's like, that comes off as funny and goofy and random and comical, and there's no, you know, this is Stanley Kubrick in this movie, shows a random girl in the bathtub and doesn't elaborate. Oh, what a masterpiece, what a great thing. Even if you come up with an explanation for it, there is no, you know, the movie has no interest in that. It's literally using it as just a gimmick, and then it moves on. There couldn't be one sentence like earlier, like, oh, this woman, you know, did something, you know, passed away in the bathtub, right? Just some earlier thing, like, that had just been mentioned offhandedly, and now you see, oh, that's like, it was some tragedy that happened there, right, like, give us a little, I don't know, give us any sort of elaboration on it. So, the guy in the bear suit giving this oral act, it's like, okay, that's just totally random. No elaboration, no reference, nothing. It's just a random thing. So even if you find value in the book, there's nothing by watching the movie that you would find like, oh, that's just goofy, silly, funny, even arbitrary, random. Right, so again, you get a lot of random images. Even towards the end, you have the blood in like the elevator. You know, you have the blood coming out. You have some of the skulls. You have, you know, I must have been talking about this for quite a while too. So I think it's an overrated movie. A lot of random images, a lot of just kind of insists upon itself a little bit, doesn't elaborate on anything, right? So people try to read into deeper meanings with this, but it's like, again, you have the twins, you have the woman in the bathtub. I'm not even saying it's bad. I'm just saying if it's random or arbitrary, okay, it's just a series of random ghosts that you're seeing. That's fine. But that doesn't make it profound. Like, okay, there's the woman in the bathtub. Okay, cool. So what? Right? And then, again, I'll give you some credit to those other scenes, like the talking to the guy in the bathroom, like he's trying to corrupt him, and talking to the bartender, he's trying to get him to become an alcoholic again. Right? Some of those scenes are good. But yeah, one of the problems is when Wendy sees all that at the end, it doesn't make sense because she hasn't interacted with anybody up to that point. Like, she hasn't seen anybody in the in the hotel up to that point. So now she suddenly does, and it's like, man, this is going on for a long ass time, and I'll never know exactly what I said because imagine if it mutes this again. I'd be so pissed. Like, I don't know for sure whether it's captured. There should be some maybe better feedback that it is actually capturing the mic right now, but yeah, we'll wait till, let me go 2 times speed. I'm getting sick of this. But yeah, we got, again, The Shining's a bit overrated because, again, there's a bunch of random things, random images. People try to read into it too much. This Stanley Kubrick effect. They try to, you know, really overdo everything that he does. Right, overanalyze when it's just a bunch of random stuff. Even if you say, oh, it's from the book, you got to read the book, but you shouldn't have to do that to make sense of it or to value it. So what a masterpiece. This random dude in a bear suit and this guy are going at it towards the end. How scary or how profound, even though there's nothing to go on with that. It's just random. Or like, again, the girl in the bathtub, the tragedy happened. We can kind of interpret a little bit, but again, the movie has no interest in that. It doesn't care. Here's the twins. There they are. A little scare moment. Or, oh, here's the woman in the bathtub. Here's the guy at the bar. Here's the guy in the, you know, in the bathroom. Those 2 scenes are at least better because it's like, the hotel kind of trying to corrupt him. Let's try to make him an alcoholic again. Let's try to make him, turn on his family. Right? So those 2 I can accept. That they're kind of doing it in a more of a sly way. Right, they're not directly just telling him, like, oh, here's a drink, it's on the house. And that line has great resonance, actually. Like, I like to know who's paying my drink for me. It's almost like a deal with the devil moment. Like, oh, don't worry, it's paid for. And it's almost like he's paying with his soul in a way. Right, that like, oh, the bartender will pick up his tab. American Psycho, a bit overrated. It's the effect that I say with Eyes Wide Shut. First of all, it's not even a horror movie at all. But you have this, but you don't have Signs. What an insult, which Signs would go on my top because, again, it has the nuance of the character development and growth and loss of his faith, getting it back, kind of like The Exorcist, right, where there's nuance to it. It's not really about the aliens, even if you criticize the aliens as an aspect. And then you have, again, American Psycho, I put it in the same category with Eyes Wide Shut, which I guess that could be considered a bit more of a horror movie still, but Eyes Wide Shut and American Psycho both build up things pretty well throughout their movie, but then they kind of ditch the payoff at the end, and it's kind of underwhelming. So, like, the Willem Dafoe character, you see a couple times, they're like, oh, he's investigating Patrick, he's on to him, and then what's the payoff? I'm not saying whether it should be positive or negative. He gets caught, or he gets away, or he kills him too, or whatever. But there's no payoff. We just don't see him again, and then that's it, and the movie just ends. So that's not a good enough thing. Like, you built it up, and then what's the point of that character? You see him a couple times, they have a couple similar conversations, and then that's it. There should have been some final payoff. Either at the end, okay, he arrests him and he finally gets Patrick, or, he talks to Patrick and, verifies that, okay, somehow they think he didn't do it, like, to confirm that he got away, or, again, Patrick kills him too, or something like that. So, there's no payoff. It doesn't matter what the payoff is. It's like you build that character up, you build up some nuance that, oh, he might actually get caught, or there might be some intrigue, and then, oh, the whole thing's just a dream, or, oh, he just gets away with it with no real... Again, it's too much build-up that just goes to waste. So I think the ending is what hurts it. It's still a good movie, but the ending kind of ruins it because you're not giving any payoff to those Willem Dafoe scenes. Is there some real chance of him getting caught? Is there some intrigue? And then it just kind of ditches the payoff. Again, either he does actually get caught, or he doesn't, but give us a little more from that. Have Willem Dafoe come again, and he's at the party, and Patrick's trying to talk to him, and he just dismisses Patrick, like, oh, hey, Patrick, how's it going? Like everything's fine, and he's been paid off, or he's somehow, they don't think he did it anymore, right? Give us some sort of line of dialogue that, like, oh, we found this other thing here, so, like, they're off the track somehow. Right, they got distracted somehow. And again, Eyes Wide Shut also builds up a similar way. Or, one other thing about American Psycho is people in this meme culture and Sigma culture and stuff think that they're so edgy for finding it funny or something, but like, you think you're so cool for finding it funny, but it's actually meant to be like that. It's a satire. The book is based on is a satire. It's meant to be a dark comedy, so you're not as edgy and cool as you think for finding it funny, right? It's meant to be funny in sort of a dark and satirical, sarcastic way. And then, Eyes Wide Shut, it builds up, oh, this guy's following Tom Cruise down the street, and, oh, they're giving him the letter to back off, and when he drives up to the gate, and, oh, they have the party scene, and, oh, they have, he's looking for his friend who at the hotel, who's gone missing now, the Nightingale. So you have all these scenes, and it's like, oh, what's the payoff to that? Is he going to bring down the cult? Is he going to get killed? Is he going to, have some final kind of confrontation? I guess they have that pool scene with Ziegler, but that doesn't really do much for us. Right, that's not much of a payoff. Give us some sort of payoff. You built up all those scenes. You could say, oh, it's not about that. It's about their sex obsession and relationship and infidelity. But if you're going to build up scenes of like 5 minutes of Tom Cruise walking down the street and he has this guy following him, but, oh, that's all meaningless. Nothing's going to happen to Tom, and it's all just all the stuff with the cult and the party doesn't matter. Well, then why waste 5 minutes of precious screen time doing that? And another, you're building it up like some real intrigue drama. Is he going to try to take the cult down? Is he going to expose something? Is he going to, again, get killed? Like, you just throw all of that out. Again, whatever the payoff is, they just ditch the payoff. So I think when you spend precious minutes of screen time on that, I find it very, very underwhelming, right? You waste time doing that. Right, some of these we're just kind of doing quickly, I guess. Jaws. I wasn't really too interested in talking about these, but yeah, you waste like, half the movie all about this intrigue of the cult and the threat that it might pose and all what's going on with it. Is he going to expose it? Is he going to catch them somehow? Is he going to, Silence of the Lambs are pretty good, although I don't like either of their voices. Even Anthony Hopkins tones it down in the following movies. Like, he's talking in such a way, like he's trying too hard, and Jodie Foster also has that fake accent. So it's like two people talking, like Bane talking to Batman in The Dark Knight Rises. Like, they both sound a little bit off and awkward. But no, this this thing is, again, Eyes Wide Shut. You build up so many scenes, so much intrigue about the suspense of the cult and the party and all this stuff going on, and then there's no adequate payoff. You just, again, guy following Tom Cruise down the street, just meaningless, right? It doesn't matter. All these different things, the party, the guy missing at the hotel, even if you say, oh, that's not what the movie's about, it doesn't matter, you're still wasting so much time doing it, right? Why show us all this and then, oh, what's the payoff? There is no payoff. Like, oh, he was just sex deprived and obsessing over all this, but so what? Then why waste our time, doing that? Give us something, right? You have the game of pool where he plays with Ziegler and then he reveals some of it, but it doesn't really provide much of a payoff. Either, he should reveal something, take somebody down for it. Just give us something, That's the ultimate two failed payoffs that prevent those from being really good movies, because again, American Psycho, you build up all this stuff with the detective and just again, whether he's going to get caught or the clues he's leaving, and it's just all, throw it all out. It doesn't matter. We're going to make you sit through it as an audience member and like act like, oh, you do care about it, but then, oh, it doesn't matter. Not that it matters in a good way or bad way. Like, oh, look how careful he was, that's why he didn't get caught. Or, oh, look how sloppy he was, that's why he did get caught. No, it's just meaningless. It's just nothing is addressed. Oh, he just gets away with it. Right, like everyone in the world he's in is fake and doesn't really care, so they either cover it up or they whatever. It's all in his head. Like it's just not much of a payoff for all those scenes that, again, in retrospect, have no value. Then you could just leave those Willem Dafoe scenes out of it and it would be fine, because there's nothing, right? You don't see him one final time. And again, Eyes Wide Shut is like the same thing, where you have Eyes Wide Shut, like, again, you have all those scenes of intrigue or threat by the cult, and what's the payoff? Nothing. Literally nothing. Right? Nothing happens, whether positive or negative. He gets taken away by the cult. He exposes the cult. He gets Ziegler arrested. Like, who knows? Right, so it doesn't have to be like a happy ending or a positive payoff. So that's the thing, is that you get you get the payoff with respect to this dude. Again, think about the number of scenes. You have the party scene, you have the, him being threatened there, you have him, questioning the guy at the hotel about Nick, you have him getting the letter once he drives up to the fence, you have him being followed down the street. So all those scenes don't matter because, it's just about his sexual repression and obsession and infidelity and all this. Like, that might be the overall theme, but if you're going to commit half the movie and all these scenes, so what meaning was there in him getting that letter at the gate? Nothing. What meaning was there in the guy following him down the street? Nothing. What meaning was there in, looking for Nick at the hotel? None of those things have any payoff. Is Nick actually okay at the end? Is he not? It's just all loose ends that don't have any payoff. Not saying what the payoff should be. Right, so I don't even know what I was saying in here at this point, but whatever. We'll just don't care about a lot of these, don't have anything interesting to say about them, or maybe haven't seen them, especially sequels. I don't really care. Oh yeah, Get Out is very overrated. It's one of the least subtle movies ever, I think is what I said. Just like the way they're acting towards him at the party, they're just very on the nose. Like from the beginning of the movie, it's just always, it doesn't build up to it in like a subtle way. Like, oh look, these people are racist, or there's going to be some, no, it just starts off immediately, right? The cop is already doing that. The family immediately talks about like an Olympic runner and makes some comment there as soon as he comes in, right, for the first time to meet them. Then when he's at the party, they're kind of ogling him and talking about him in that way the whole time. And then even like they're having like an auction in the open, right, in a very conspicuous way, that when he's like right there not too far away, like they're just doing that out in the open. So it's like one of the least subtle movies ever. And it gets a lot of credit maybe for that. Oh, look, it's dealing with a social issue, so therefore it's a great movie. Like, no, it's, if you take that away, pretend it didn't have that dynamic, and it was just the same sort of material and setting and everything like that. Like, just a guy goes to meet his girlfriend's parents, and they're out to kill him or something for whatever reason. They just don't like him. They don't want him to be with the daughter. Then what? It would be the same thing. Right, like it's not that good. So it's getting special credit just for maybe the subject matter dealing with that, but it deals with it even in a very unsubtle way, hands-on, and it also deals with it in a way that's just not very clever or creative. And it, again, that might be some of the motivation behind, obviously, what they're doing, but so what? It's like, it's just not a very good movie. If you, take that element away and pretend like, again, it's not about that. It's not that special. And even, again, it's always almost using that as a pretense, like, oh, you can't criticize it, otherwise, whatever, or like it deserves some special attention or credit. So I think that's very, very overrated. It's not terrible, but it's, again, it would be kind of average if it wasn't for that. So, okay, that's the extent of there's like one more thing I want to test then, which is going to be, but that wasn't quite what I wanted from it, but I guess it'll have to do. Now I kind of want to test this a little bit. How much battery do I have left? I have 10% battery, so we better do it quick. We'll go and we'll do one or two of those permanent chess games in a second. I always hate having to redo stuff like that. That's so annoying. Yeah, we'll just test the game, see how it works. Generally, this seems to be working just fine, whether I'm driving or not. I don't know why it crashed there for a second, though, still. Maybe, again, it's because I went under it. That would be so funny if that was why. I went, like, under the overhang of the shit of the drive-through. But yeah, that was my sloppy little tier list, which would have been fine, but again, we lost the audio from the first time doing it, and we're doing it on this phone that might not be the greatest, either visual or otherwise. It almost makes me want to do it again on my computer, but I'm not going to. So yeah, let's try this here, where I'll play like a game of chess in that permanent chess thing that I was doing, and that was because we're not going to have much time left anyway. Or I don't know if the silent is going to make something else silent now and fuck it up. Let me double check that this is working. And now I'll use my headphone for a second. But yeah, that's maybe the only gripe now, is that battery runs out too quickly of the actual. So maybe I could get another one or a better one. But yeah, see, why does the Bluetooth thing sometimes show? Yeah, see, now it's there. Does that mean that the mic is Bluetooth too? Because I don't want it to be. I always just want the headphone to be. So let's do one more of those games of chess where it's like the permanent chess thing. I think it's this one with the king and stuff there. This is one that I had actually played on PC in some way. Or I was even playing this while talking about the recapping on the psychology of Twitch thing, or the Naroditsky situation. For some reason, I was just happened to be playing this. So yeah, let's do just like one game in this here and just test it. It should work fine. So again, we're just testing all angles of what this is. This is going to work, and it seems to be actually just fine. I wouldn't mind doing it for longer if it actually worked. Like, or I mean, if I had more battery, because then it also takes like super long to charge that thing. The battery bank thing. Yeah, I'll try to edit that thing down and put it on my main channel just in time for Halloween. And I also wanted to play like some maybe horror themed games at some point, but I don't really know how to, because, or I mean, I kind of wanted to do it on here, on mobile, rather than on, just as something different. Since we're doing so much stuff on mobile, we may as well, do it like that. Wait, why does this just say opponent though? Isn't it what? Or is that his actual name? He names himself opponent. That's weird. Or like there's some stream sniping protection with that. Like, oh, you can't so you can't see them, or whatever. I'm trying to open this. Sometimes I just play too fast. So I must be undefeated, but we might have drawn one game. Because again, if I lose, I won't. If I lose, I won't.
He's beaten a 2100 apparently according to that, but he's playing like garbage. Um, if I lose, I have to delete the whole thing, right? That's what we're doing, like permadeath chess, mobile games, and so go here, create a double stack. I'm sort of on the clock because my battery might run out, even though it shouldn't run out that quickly, but this thing just takes up way too much, I guess. Which is understandable. That's a fair trade-off. I just didn't realize how consumptive it would be. Now, even if he attacks it, I can put like the rook behind and pin it, or just. Okay, am I reading this right? Highest elo beaten 2169, but how? So now you have some nasty. Never mind the fact that I could have just taken the queen, but you do have some nasty options here for sure. Yeah, so apparently a 2169 on here is complete garbage, or he was just trolling or got disconnected or something. That's not even a good play though, because you can just. He could have just brought the rook out, and I couldn't have done a whole lot. Like when they play so bad, you can't even decide which move is the best because they're giving up so many things. It makes it hard for you to pick which is the one that you actually want. Yeah, let's just do this one because I don't want to lose on account of that. But then I guess this the stream would disconnect. It wouldn't like make me lose the game, but or no, I guess it would. Yeah, this guy is absolutely garbage, as you might expect with some of these players' ratings, and I don't know why he's even just opponent. You could say, oh, it's like a bot, but then why would it be saying that he's beating like a 2169 or something? Or maybe it's like an adaptive bot that plays up to your how you play, but so let's see here. Yeah, there always has to be some issue. If it wasn't that, it's the battery. Otherwise, like right, we're racing against the clock. That's the only real challenge here. If my battery runs out, which it's not going to in this span, but so basically on a full battery, you're getting like maybe 2 to 3 hours out of this at most, which is fine. Probably typically I won't be wanting to use it that long anyway, but it's just more like if I wanted to, right? If I wanted to, like do it like let's say all day or something, I should be able to. Then I'd have to keep switching out the battery thing, or but even then I'd have to do something in the middle, like like I'd have to have a backup thing so the stream doesn't crash. Which maybe we already had that happen with the stupid ass overhang of the drive through. That might have been actually what it was. Oh, whoops. Just doing that to make it interesting, clearly. And this proves he's a bot that he would take that long to do it. Or like, I don't know if there's even a chat, a chat functionality here. Um, there's still no problem. I can still easily win, but Obviously, just misclicked. I was trying to go. Oh shit. Well, actually, now it might be a problem. This is how he beats the 2860. That they're in a hurry and they're worried about their battery on their Starlink Mini running out, and that's why they fucking like. It doesn't matter even if we draw, as long as I don't lose. Right, so he has very few pawns, but he's gonna start to take mine here. And oh my god. I always find endgames so boring too, but they are much more dynamic or sometimes difficult than openings because it doesn't feel as rehearsed at times. Yeah, there we go. That's what we expect from this bot player, which I don't think we've played too many bots on here. I feel like most of them have felt like real players. We're just gonna get to the point where it blurs the line of like, AI is gonna become so good or whatever that not even that it'll become so good because it could always have been good and better than people, but it'd be more like it would just blur the line that now you'll go against things that seem like people with all their flaws and imperfections that it'll be convincing, even if they're not. Even if they're not, right, even if they're bots. Even with that, giving up the queen, I still didn't, which again is just more like a misclick. It still doesn't, I'm misclicking and I'm not even using a mouse. I love his fixed number of time that he takes between every move. He has like my 30-second rule in classical, he has like a 10-second rule in rapid, I guess. Just don't give us stalemates. Uh, that's something I probably miss in every game too. Like there'll be a quicker mate, but I just don't care. So it's like, so I'll sort of miss it on the basis of, oh my god. Because at this point you sort of stop caring and stop even looking for it, but it could sometimes be relevant that, it could sometimes make a difference or whatever, but it often doesn't come down to that. You're usually up by so much or whatever that it hardly even matters. It actually makes it look like where you could thoroughly outplay somebody, but then they'll be wondering like, how the fuck can't you just do a simple mate? Okay, checkmate, lag wins plus 33. So I'm only doing 10 minute there, but again, if I do lose, it will count as a. Oh, I actually have to delete the game and I can't play it anymore. So we're doing that. Like, then we'll just switch to other mobile chess games, which surprisingly there aren't very many, or they're not very good. Like they're not very popular. It seems like. So hopefully that worked for my stupid tier list.